You're up and it's still dark. Kick back with a cup of joe. You know you've got friends waiting on 1620 The Zone. It's Happer and Schaefer. It's Connor and Mike. Listen on the radio stream or YouTube or podcasts. Anytime it feels right. It's Happer and Schaefer.
All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome in. Happy Tuesday. It's Happer and Schaefer on 1620 The Zone and on 1620thezone.com. Connor Happer, Mike Schaefer, Joey Colbert with you on this fine morning. How we doing, gentlemen? Everybody awake?
A little sleepy.
Sleepy?
Even though I took a nap in the afternoon, still a little tired.
Mike Schaefer, how are you?
I am good to go. We have a radio show today. I do have a bone to pick with you, though.
Uh-oh.
Our show art is horrendous.
Our show what?
The show art, whatever the.
Hey, why is
graphic.
Why is this a bone to pick with me? You're talking to
I don't know who
producer extraordinaire.
You're like the guy who controls
Joseph.
the show.
I guess so. I guess it happens under my watch.
Yeah.
Everything that happens is under my purview.
I'm just sending it up the proverbial.
I didn't realize you hated Kansas that much.
Oh yeah, I really hate. Before Creighton was ever a thing, like the J-Skers were Kansas basketball.
No,
fans.
I know that. No,
And-
I know that.
Columbus, Nebraska, there were many Kansas basketball fans.
There are still.
And they're always annoying.
Yeah, I don't think it's just Columbus.
Endlessly annoying.
Yeah. I don't find myself as annoyed by them as
Yeah, I mean
some
it's
do.
a little different now that Nebraska doesn't play them twice a year, and I haven't had to spend like hours waiting in line only to see Nebraska put up 13 points in the first half. But no, the hatred is still there, and I don't like Bill Self, and they're an annoying program that get away with everything, and so I never want to see success for them. So I was not thrilled to learn of their win last.
They did. They had the Allen Fieldhouse magic, and they beat Arizona last night.
Now, I will say, Fog Allen is an incredible venue, and they treat people, visiting media, very, very well. And I got to sit courtside as a student reporter for Nebraska, Kansas in 2010. And so, despite my disdain for the program, the building and the arena is unlike
They was on one
anything.
last night. They were.
They
were unbelievable last night.
You know, it's a different world of the sport.
I think Kansas is 51-1 on Big Monday now.
Yeah, there was insane stats
Crazy,
going around.
Definitely,
So Bill
definitely
Self
saw some of those 50s.
Yeah, and the Bill Self has lost 22 home games in 23 years or something like that. They just don't lose there.
I liked it more last year when they spent $10 million to be the most dysfunctional program in America.
Yeah, well, that's what happens when Hunter Dickinson is the main piece of your organization. I was starting to think that the magic was starting to go away.
Oh, they're on a heater right now
for Kansas, like after last year, just with the way it looked. But yeah, they lost 3 times at home last year. Yeah, they lost 3 times at home last year, and I'm thinking, oh, all right. Well, maybe, this is just settling into normalcy. You can't be dominant for as long, but here they are.
Dominant.
Here they are back again. They have now here's the thing about them. We'll talk about this a little bit later. They have what we all think is the best raw player in the country and likely the number 1 or 2 NBA draft pick. He is actually on their roster, but he doesn't play very much.
Yeah.
Including last night in their win against number 1 Arizona to end their undefeated streak, which, by the way, means we are down to but 1 undefeated team in college basketball or high level college basketball. And
that should automatically get you a spot in the tournament.
Oh, you think they should get a bid?
The last team to be undefeated in all of college basketball should get a guaranteed spot in the tournament.
Okay, that's pretty funny. Unfortunately, they are 84 on KenPom right now.
Yeah, their guaranteed spot is basically winning the MAC tournament.
80. They are 24-0, and they have to probably win the MAC tournament.
I would say
if they get to the final undefeated, you probably just can't leave them out.
yeah, it's probably going to be a 2-bid conference if they lose in the final.
Yeah,
And if they have one loss, and that's from the final.
Correct. Only if that's their first loss. What'd you say?
They'd be like 33-1.
Yeah,
that'd be an unbelievable test case for the committee.
I
mean, there was times like South Dakota State had 32 wins, and then they would be playing in a really hairy Summit League final.
Drake.
We saw that with Murray State when they were undefeated. Like that was kind of the conversation because what are they? The Ohio Valley?
Yeah, the OVC. Well, they were at the time. They're not anymore.
Things have changed quite a bit, but I am always sort of fascinated by the, what do we want to call them? The high-low majors.
They're called low majors.
Yeah, but they're like the better of the, like there's certain low majors.
Wait, so what conference are we talking about?
I feel like the Summit is better than
the Summit is a low major.
Than like right, but it's like
not
better
the
than the MEAC. Yeah.
Okay.
It's better than the SWAC.
Let me check our conference rankings.
It's better than the Southland Conference.
It probably is, but I don't think it rises to the.
It's probably better than the Patriot League.
All right, here we go. Here's your KenPom conference ratings.
Oh, I'm excited.
Starting from the bottom, you got it. The MEAC, the last rated KenPom conference at this point. The America East, 30.
Okay.
The NEC, Northeast Conference, 29. The Southwestern Athletic Conference, the SWAC, 28. The Patriot League, 27.
Yep.
The OVC, 26. The Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference, the MAAC, is 25. The ASUN, the Southern Conference, then the Summit League, then the Big South, Sunbelt, Horizon, Southland, MAC.
Okay.
At this point, you're getting into mid-major territory.
I feel like MAC is considered a mid-major, but they haven't had a 2-bid league since the 90s.
Is that true?
Yeah, I was reading about it yesterday.
Wow.
And that's wild because if you're a mid-major, you probably need to have a 2-bid league at least occasionally.
We should do college basketball conference power rankings with tiers. I wonder where it would cut off. So the high majors are Southeastern, the SEC, the Big 10, the Big 12, the ACC, the Big East, and that's it. Do you include
the Mountain West would be the next closest
the
one,
A10 in that conversation?
Ooh, yeah.
The A10 would say, "Hey, we're the A10."
They would say that. Whether we accept it is kind of up to us. It's weird because
remember that conference
doesn't it feel like it's a little bit too year by year to say for sure.
Yeah, and they don't have their main stalwarts every year are Dayton, who's a little down this year. And God, that's kind of it. I mean,
it's Dayton or it's Richmond or it's
Richmond. Richmond's in that.
I think we can call them
this year. It's St. Louis, by the way,
solidly
and VCU
a mid-major.
Okay,
I think we can say.
So we're just going with 5 high major conferences.
I think that's fair.
All right, and then all of these are mid-major. This is in the.
I'll tell you where the cutoff is.
Mountain West.
Yep.
A10.
Yep.
WCC.
Yep.
Valley. AAC. AAC would probably say we're the AAC.
Yeah. But everyone else would be like, you're still a mid-major.
The WAC. Getting close.
I might.
The WAC, actually, no. The WAC is not a mid-major conference.
I was going to say, I feel like
they are 11th in the conference rankings.
There's a big difference between the AAC and the WAC.
Yes. Big West, CUSA.
Yeah, these are not.
Ivy League, the CAA, and the Big Sky are the only ones that we haven't mentioned yet. Yeah, so I think, wow. So
the Big Sky should be higher. Maybe not this year, but in general, I feel like good teams come out of it.
So the high major conferences are the top 5 that we mentioned, and then there's only probably a handful of mid-major conferences.
Only 9 conferences that aren't low major.
Wow. Look at that. Well, maybe we'll have to do conference power rankings.
I
with
do
tiers.
want to do college basketball.
We should just schedule a day for that. Maybe it'll be tomorrow, but we should have probably done it today. To be quite honest,
Today would have been a good day.
Today would have been a good day for it, but maybe we'll do it tomorrow, this week, and then we'll do it Tuesdays
going forward. I like that. Yep.
Exactly. All right. Elsewhere today, we'll have our regular Tuesday guest, Mitch Sherman, will join us at 8:30. Jacob Padilla will join us at 9:15. He will probably have a decent answer to what conferences are high major and mid major and low major.
We'll get his thoughts on the WAC versus the AAC.
The WAC versus the AAC.
We'll start cold. We won't tell them that it's coming.
It's like it's funny too, because there's a bunch of teams in those mid-major conferences that are usually up there that for whatever reason just kind of aren't this year. There's some different faces. Like what was the one? So the A10, like St. Louis is the team to watch there this year, because
not and Dayton isn't as
like,
good as
and then there's all this conversation about St. Louis, like whichever hot team from the A10 pops up year by year is like, oh, can they complete the Big East or something like that? Can they move up to
Would
the
the
next
Big
conference?
East want St. Louis?
I have sort of heard not of any real rumblings of it, but people talking about it in spaces.
Are they in expansion mode?
It doesn't seem like it. Rick Pitino talks about it all the time.
Yeah, but
He just says stuff.
The ramblings of an old man.
He just says things. I don't get the sense they are currently. The other one that everyone always waits for is St. Thomas. Like when they get going in like 5 years or something like that, you could just pick them off and say, all right, now we have 12 teams in the Big East Conference. But I want to keep our true double round robin schedule as long as we possibly can. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
It's great. Playing everybody twice every year, and that's 20 conference games. That is perfect. All right. So elsewhere on the show today, we will talk a little bit about that Kansas game last night and the Darren Peterson of it all. We have Nebraska and Purdue tonight in Lincoln. That's right. It's a big game. It's a big game for both teams with Kevin Kugler, Hall of Famer Kevin Kugler, and Bill Raftery. I assume that Bill Raftery is in many Hall of Fames. So he will join Kevin on the call tonight.
It is kind of funny to think of like him being invited to various Hall of Fames and not even really knowing why he would be inducted into this one.
Yeah, over under like 6.5 Hall of Fames for Bill Raftery.
At what point is it too many? You're like, I can't be in any more Hall of Fame.
Because you have to go and give a speech every time.
You got to be inducted. You got to be celebrated. You probably don't even know who these people are.
I love Bill
They just
Raftery.
want you to say onions over and over and
They
over.
do. They really, really do.
So that's tough.
It's probably been a while since he's been around. Maybe just a handful of times over the time that I've been around.
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of a lot of Nebraska basketball games.
He did a Michigan State game like a long time ago, late Miles era, and then there may have been one in the Fred era, and that's kind of it.
Probably usually the FS1 games they would do during the week.
Yes, and this is an FS1 game. It's during the week, so it's a good one between Purdue.
What do we
and
think?
Nebraska.
Do you think he could be better than Nick Stauskas on the call?
I'm gonna say yes.
Where is Nick
Stauskas? I'm gonna say that Bill Raftery will outperform Nick Stauskas tonight.
Yeah, it feels like a much better broadcast team in every conceivable way.
I mean, this is about as good as it gets.
Yeah.
For
you would if Fox has the game, like this is kind of what you would hope to get. Instead, it's FS1 and really good.
You can't make me hate Bill Raftery. So he'll be in town tonight. We'll talk about the game and just how interesting. If you look at the trends on both of those teams, it's been sort of an interesting couple weeks, I think, for both of them. So we'll talk about that as we go on throughout the show today. Unfortunately for Mike Schaefer, I know he doesn't want to do this. He's doing this against his will. We're going to take a look at some of the excerpts from Bill Moose's book.
The World According to Bill Moose.
You don't have to have any takes. I mostly just want to laugh because I've read the ones that have been screenshotted by colleagues.
I've read the excerpt, so I'm familiar.
So that's all I got too. The writing is horrific. And the editing is horrific, and I can't wait to just, read a couple of them. We're basically just going to laugh at them. I have a topic that so for a trade-off, you won't enjoy that topic very much. But I have a topic that
But over here,
I have a topic that you will enjoy.
Okay, all
I
right.
made this topic just
I
for
don't even
you.
want to know what it is.
You don't?
Well, I'd rather you
All
just
right,
spring it on me.
Can
at
I
some
tell you
point.
what it's called?
Sure. Yeah.
It is called Quarterback Super Bowl Forecast.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm in.
That's what I thought.
It takes absolutely nothing. I'm in.
That's what I thought. We have a very likely nothing burger from Front Office Sports. The NCAA appears to have won a court case last night.
Don't call it a comeback.
How about that? Pretty impressive. Also, we'll ask.
Now the SEC can't even win in court.
Oh, man. Now they have no more wins left to get. And also, we will ask, is the FCS dying, or is FCS football dying? I suppose we should say. Had some moves over the last couple of weeks. So that is a little bit of the setup today on the show. I am already annoyed because it appears that they have tried to get rid of the chronological timeline yet again on Twitter.
Are you sure it's just not broken and someone needs to unplug it and plug it back in?
No, I'm not sure at all. I'm absolutely unsure about that. So when it tries for me, it doesn't give me anything. And now it's just firing off tweets at me that happened anywhere between 9 and 17 hours ago. So that's what I'm seeing right now. So if you want to get a hold of me, if you want to alert me of something, just you got to send a tweet at Connor Happer.
Join us on the YouTube
at Happer and Schaefer. Join us on the YouTube. That would be fantastic as well. You can email Connor at 1620thezone.com, Mike at 1620thezone.com, Joey at 1620thezone.com on the Equitable Bank Zone inbox. And of course, you could call our text 402-951-1620 on the Prairie Flower Casino Zone hotline. Good morning to everybody who's already chilling in the YouTube chat. Drunk Monk says, get those not get those puppies set. Get those puppies organized, Drunk Monk. Get those puppies organized. That's what Bill Raftery is going to be saying about Sam Hoiberg as he rises and fires for a three-pointer tonight at Pinnacle Bank Arena. But we'll take a break. We're off and running on a Tuesday on Happer and Schaefer on 1620 The Zone. All right, welcome back. Connor Happer, Mike Schaefer, Joey Colbert with you this morning on Happer and Schaefer on 1620 The Zone and on 1620thezone.com. Yeah, let's talk about this Kansas and Arizona situation last night, but not so much the game. By the way, we do have a new number one team on KenPom this morning. Would you, Mike Schaefer? I'll give you a clue. You're a huge fan of this team.
It sounds like this team would be Michigan.
It is. You love Michigan.
I love Michigan.
You love the way they play. You love the university as a whole.
I love the quarterbacks that they produce in the Minnesota Vikings draft.
That's right. You are a Michigan man. They are the new number one team on KenPom after Arizona is dethroned last night. Duke, Illinois, and Houston round out the top 5. And tonight in Lincoln, we have, well, as of last night, it was 10-11. Now it's 10-12. Kansas had to get snuck in there in front of Nebraska after they beat Arizona last night at Fog Allen Fieldhouse. I would like to talk about the Darren Peterson situation for a few minutes. So Darren Peterson, for those who don't know, is projected to be the number one pick in the draft or the number 2 pick in the draft. I mean, he has the highest upside pretty clearly out of anybody who's draft eligible this year or playing college basketball for sure. However, Kansas is now 19-5 on the season, meaning they've played 24 games, and Darren Peterson has only played and started in 13 of them. And in those 13 games, he's only averaging a little under 28 minutes per game. So it's not like he's got a giant heavy workload in the games that he is playing. Last night, you're all set up for a gargantuan battle between number 1 Arizona, who's visiting on the road to Fog Allen Fieldhouse, and what was it, number 10 or 11 Kansas last night. And everybody's excited. It's Big Monday. It's Boog Shambi. It's Fran Fischilla. And it's Darren Peterson. But no, before the game, it is announced that Darren Peterson, who went through warm-ups, announced that he's not going to play. He wasn't going to go. He had flu-like symptoms. Bill Self said after the game, after Kansas miraculously won last night, that he thought Darren was probably going to give it a go and didn't end up doing so. Peterson is averaging 20.5 points per game. When you watch him, I'm dead serious. I'm not just saying this. When you watch him, he has some Jordan-isms. He is an explosive athlete, incredible body control. There is a reason why he is going to be likely the number 1 pick in the NBA draft, and that is regardless of how many games he plays this year at Kansas, which has led to all sorts of questions about what's wrong. Is he just hurt all the time? Is he being a sissy? Is he on some sort of load management program from his agents who don't actually want him to play in college and just is biding out his time to get to the NBA draft in June? I don't know. There's a variety of different things going on here, but what do you think, Schaefer?
I don't really understand. So basically, he's missed games because of cramps or just general ailments.
Full body cramps, I think, was one of them.
It's odd because it doesn't seem like there's any sort of like commonality with it. It's just sort of
it's just not.
He wakes up one day and then just decides he's not going to play. Flu-like symptoms is a fascinating term because it can encompass.
He looked fine I saw video. Yeah. He looked fine going through pregame, and he looked fine when he was, at any point in which he was visible to cameras. Now, I could have the flu horribly and look fine for 10 seconds, but you get the point.
Yeah, no,
we have reason to question his injury, his lack of play.
Did you see how Barstool got involved in all of this yesterday?
I did. I did. The Barstool Arizona thing. Yeah, I did. Go ahead. Tell me about it.
So basically, I saw this last night when I was unable to watch the game, but I did see this, which only added the cloud of weirdness about everything surrounding. Because I saw the retweet of the well, we'll see if they're still number one basketball Barstool Arizona cactus emoji. This account has a video where it's zooming in on someone at the broadcast that is texting someone else.
It's someone on the broadcast table. And Kansas said that they don't work for Kansas.
Yeah, Daniel Burke, which is
I assume one of their SIDs.
Senior Associate AD for Strategic Communications of KU Athletics.
So I believe it was Daniel himself who went over and had a talking to with this person a little bit later on in the game. There was also video of that. But yes, so a person from behind this person's phone had a close-up video of this guy texting someone or a group.
Yeah.
And here is what it said.
So he's sick and didn't tell anyone in practice, and Bill said, don't half bleep it. You're gonna play. If not, sit. DP said, F it, I'm out.
Now, that could be. Now, would that person know he's just looks like just a crew stats guy? I don't know. He could have been.
My guess is that he has access or familiarity with someone who would know or heard something.
Probably overheard something.
Whether there's accuracy to what he heard remains to be the question.
But it does.
I would say it tracks in line with everything
Correct.
we've heard about Darren Peterson's willingness to play basketball.
Correct.
Which is just a fascinating,
correct.
If you're going to use a number one pick on this guy and you have no idea on any day of the week if he actually wants to go do the thing that you're going to draft him for.
But I tend to think at this stage in the game that it's I don't know. I don't know anything about his personality and the way he operates or anything like that. But I feel like it would be a very, very 2026 story if he was basically under some sort of agent-led minutes restriction in college. Like, I don't know anything. That is pure speculation on my part.
Yeah.
But like you said, they keep coming up with different reasons why he's not going to play.
Yeah.
He's had these weird interactions with non-basketball staff personnel from Kansas. The agents have been very, very present in this entire situation.
I know. I was loving when this was going poorly early in the year because it was just, really complimenting last year where things were horrible with Kansas. And just the buzz about all of it is how miserable Bill Self is and how he just can't wait to be done with this.
And yet he's got this guy on his team.
We're supposed to just throw a massive pity party for Bill Self and the problems that come with being an elite college basketball program that spends well over $10 million on its roster. We're supposed to feel horrible for him. And all of this.
We definitely do.
But I was enjoying that aspect of it more. Here's the thing though, like, even if, let's say that your hypothesis is true or conspiracy, whatever we want to call it.
I don't think it's a conspiracy.
Yeah.
I'm not conspiring.
Sure. Let's just say that your theory, your theory is true. Wouldn't that also concern you as like a decision maker? Because here's the thing that you want the most when you're drafting a guy like that. You want their competitive willingness to go play into battle at all times.
100%. But I think the NBA has a little bit of a track record of
sitting guys immediately after never having back-to-back games.
There's also that. Yeah, there's also the low stress and workload that they put on you when you get there. So that's number one. That's a great point. But that wasn't what I was going to talk about.
There was an amazing tweet. I should find it so I can give credit to whoever did it. But it was basically like, I'm going to go ski in the Olympics with no ACL.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
I broke my rib, trying to do this, and I still went out and competed in the next
NBA player. I don't want to play tonight.
I don't want to play tonight. We played 2 days ago.
Yep, I don't want to play. So there is that piece, which it's very much in the culture of the NBA to not play. And then there's the other piece of like, the NBA teams have shown that they're not necessarily afraid of any of this garbage.
Yeah.
And they will take the upside and the lottery ticket over literally anything else. If this guy has the ability to be like Michael Jordan or whatever, if somebody finds that in their evaluation, they won't care. They'll take it.
No, it would take a very convicted individual to pass on Darren Peterson at 1. Even if there's a great option that you could go with, if the consensus is this is the guy.
Right.
I mean, we know decision makers largely always bend to wherever the consensus idea is because it's safer to be wrong that way than it is to be right with your own conviction.
Yep.
But yeah, I would have it'd be really hard if you were a Kansas basketball fan to have any enjoyment of this player because if he's just continually, when's he going to check out again?
So what if?
And then the other thing is you just won this massive game without him.
I know, and that's what Thomas says on YouTube. He says Kansas is playing better without Peterson. They look more like a team when he doesn't play. When he plays, it's everybody just watching Darren. I tend to agree based off of the things that I have seen. Now, at the same time, if you're a Kansas fan or whatever it might be, like, all right, maybe he's off and on and he's hot and cold, and then you get to the NCAA tournament and he's out there for 30 minutes for 6 games in a row and they win a national championship, which is very, very possible in this regard. Do you care? It's an all-time odd season. It's an all-time weird thing, but he might be that good. Like he might be that good.
Yeah, I mean that's
carry.
It's just would be infuriating to have to be on the whims of whatever he or potentially the people making these decisions are choosing to do.
I most certainly would prefer it. Prefer it
right.
like Nebraska's way or whatever it might be. But
it doesn't even have to be Nebraska's way. It's just like you'd prefer to have the guys want to play the basketball.
Yes, correct.
Like
but this is
it could be the Illinois way. It could be the Michigan way. It could be it would just be better.
But Kansas is the type of is one of the very few programs who can handle this as well as anybody else can because of the massive talent gap they have with basically everybody else in the country. Right. They could sort of just absorb it a little bit and say, all right, here's what we think is going to be the number 1 pick of the draft. If he only gives us, 27 minutes, half the time, then we can live with it, which is absurd. It's a crazy thing to say.
That's not where I thought you were going to go with it. Initially, I thought it was going to be Kansas can handle this because they've just had like absurd personalities for years.
That's also true. Yeah.
Like this isn't as weird as this is.
We are very, very far gone from the mid 2000s Kansas teams of the way that they built it and stuff like that.
Heinrich and LaFrenz out there.
No, not at all.
Yeah. It's just they have had some very interesting people that have come through.
Remember the whole deal with Embiid? I mean, Embiid hardly played.
He's one of them. I'm trying to think of who the guard was from the East Coast that came out there, and then he had every possible issue where it looked like he quit. He apparently quit the team like multiple times during practice.
How long ago?
This was a couple years ago. Was
it AJ Storr from last year?
No, it's not Storr. Last year's team was just like a collection of mercenaries that all hated each other, and it was a joy to watch. Honestly, just beautiful watching them just get whipped in the first round of the NCAA tournament. Hunter Dickinson just running around out there with his hand.
Great times.
Wonderful times.
Great times. And they also had, people forget they had Zuby Ejiofor on their team as a freshman a couple of years ago. Zuby Ejiofor and the boys nearly got beat by Xavier last night at Madison Square Garden. All right, let's take a quick timeout. By the way, Nick writes in on Twitter. It's the Moneyball screenshot. This is Darren Peterson. He has elite athleticism, speed, and shooting ability. The only problem is he hates playing. His only defect is he hates playing. Yeah.
He doesn't want to do it.
Billy, this is Darren Peterson. The only problem is he waddles like a duck. All right, we'll run at the 6 o'clock hour coming back on 1620 The Zone. Would you look at this? Speaking of college basketball players and weirdness surrounding them, the NCAA scored a nice little win last night, it appears. Charles Bediako, the player from Alabama who had played in the G League, had previously played at Alabama, then went to the G League, signed a two-way NBA contract, and then argued that he should be allowed to come back to college basketball, played a few games, and because he had an injunction to, keep the hearing, push the hearing down the line and wait until something in court gets heard, that has now been denied. The motion for a preliminary injunction yesterday, ending his time back in college basketball. Tuscaloosa County Circuit Court Judge Daniel F. Pruitt halted Bediako's bid to regain eligibility after he left Alabama for the NBA draft in 2023, signed a two-way contract, and played the last 3 seasons in the G League, moves that disqualified him from collegiate competition, according to the NCAA. That is what the NCAA was arguing. The judge ruled that Bediako did not have a, quote, reasonable expectation he would be allowed to return to college basketball when no other player had been granted eligibility under the same circumstances. Of course, their argument was, Bediako and his team's argument was, well, look at what's happening around the rest of college basketball. All these players are playing overseas professionally, and then they are playing college basketball. But what apparently they did not understand was the difference between already playing in college basketball, then playing professionally, and then attempting to come back to college basketball, which is a little bit different.
After you forewent 2 years of eligibility that you didn't have to give up.
Correct.
Yeah. Did you see the Nate Oates quote on his Hey Coach weekly radio show?
No. I would love to.
You ready for some just tone deaf stupidity
well,
from Nate Oates?
Nate Oates is full of it, so it wouldn't surprise me.
It just seems like European international players are being given preferential treatment over the Americans. We've made it an international thing now.
He's just like, but that's what everybody's argument has been. Like the international players, they're going and taking international players, and they've played professionally. Once again, I don't understand how you don't see that it's different.
Willfully ignorant.
Correct. I think they're doing a bit. I think he's just saying things in order to get what he wants.
He goes on to say,
I don't think he actually believes this.
He goes on to say, hopefully at some point, somebody is going to win a ruling like this. It wasn't here today. At some point, somebody will win one and change the system, because that's how it's changed in the NCAA. They don't make changes on their own typically. What an absolute unbelievable moron Nate Oates is. He is part of the system that makes the changes. He is part of the system that's in the subcommittees that puts forth the rules.
He would have been the first coach that I had ever heard who would argue for like that what Bediako is doing is some sort of injustice. Like, hopefully one day we can get this straight and these good players can just can play the game that they love and go back to college.
A slippery slope that would be available should you just allow players who previously have played professionally after playing college basketball and foregoing their eligibility would invite dozens, if not hundreds, of potential players back to college basketball.
Yeah, it'd be open.
And so then at what point, like, you have no gatekeeping at that point.
Correct.
But because Nate Oates really wants a center for his basketball team right now, we're just going to sell out any notion
that's the state of college
for
sports.
the future.
That's the state of college sports. Everybody's trying to fight for themselves, and it opens up all these unintended consequences and doors. And we're in a bad spot, or at least we have been. So Charlie Baker, is the president of the NCAA, has been taking a beating nonstop for the last several years since he's been in charge of the NCAA. He said this, quote, "Common sense went around today. The court saw this for what it is, an attempt by professionals to pivot back to college and crowd out the next generation of students. College sports are for students, not for people who already walked away to go pro and now want to hit the undo button at the expense of a teenager's dream. While we're glad the court held up the rules our members actually want, one win doesn't fix the national mess of state laws. It's time for Congress to stop watching from the sidelines and help us provide some actual stability."
Nobody wants Congress involved in this either, really. But that's the only route that you get to some sort of like resolution here.
Yeah.
And so we'll see what the next case is, and we'll see how that all goes.
So-
I mean, it's a rare victory for the NCAA, but it's sort of an obvious one. Like there's no grounds
I know.
for Betty Hawk.
But nobody really. I mean, everybody sort of thought that they weren't going to win.
Well,
Everybody sort of thought that the player was going to win. Now, obviously, they had a very flimsy case.
It helps when they were able to remove the judge that's a booster.
It does.
When he finally decided, I should probably recuse myself for a conflict of interest here.
It does.
Shout out to that guy for figuring out that, I probably am not impartial in this decision here.
So every time a case happens, there is precedent that is set. So here was the precedent in this case. In Monday's ruling, Pruitt, the judge, said Bediako did not meet the criteria for a preliminary injunction that would have allowed him to play the rest of the season because he had, quote, failed to establish that he would suffer irreparable harm, and had failed to establish that he has no adequate remedy at law without the issuance of the injunction, and had failed to demonstrate that he had at least a reasonable chance of success on the ultimate merits of those claims, that the NCAA had violated antitrust laws in this case. I would have loved, and maybe it's floating out there somewhere, to hear the case that he had established claim that he would suffer irreparable harm. I would love to hear that claim. Anyway, the judge also said the case was not about whether the plaintiff can be paid to play basketball, but for whom, citing the money he had made at the professional level after Bediako claimed he would miss out on revenue-sharing opportunities if he wasn't given a chance to return to college basketball, which is basically what everybody has done in these winning court cases, like against the NCAA. You are limiting my earnings potential. You've done that to nobody so far. That is my angle to get back in college basketball. The judge also said that Bediako is subject to NCAA rules, which is good. And the NCAA rules, of course, prohibit him from playing in college basketball. We did it. Thank God.
Yeah.
It's not over, but we did it.
A small win for sanity in an ocean of stupidity that is just the court systems and NCAA right now.
It's very, very, very tough.
It's probably going to be the only real win, though, that comes out of the next few months of these things.
Probably, they'll find a different path. They'll find a different track to go on.
Yeah, I mean, the difference here is that he had already left. Like, I mean, it's very different than Chambliss or Aguilar or Diego Pavia or whatever SEC quarterback needs help to keep his
Trinidad Chambliss
to keep his job. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to do another off season of this. That's the other thing. Like,
great point. That's a great overarching point. Like, I hate talking about this stupid stuff.
Right. And
because all I ever say is this is dumb and please, why are we doing this?
Right. And so, but it feels like it's necessary to continue to talk about it, if only because if you don't, then it just feels like that in itself is a bad sign. Because if you just don't have any views or opinions or conversation on this, then it just becomes the idea that, well, yeah, it's just natural that Trinidad Chambliss could come back and play his seventh year. Joey Aguilar, who's already played, he's going to be 25, which is older than the guy who started in the freaking Super Bowl.
This would be his 8th season, correct?
Effectively.
Yeah.
I mean, now
he hasn't played all the games,
but yeah. Even then, I mean, he redshirted in 2019, COVID year in 2020. Started half the year in 21. Started the full year in 22.
The COVID thing
started 2 full years at Western Kentucky and a year at Tennessee. Yeah. How much more time do you need, Joey?
Much more time.
How much more time, Joey?
It's
it's not about the time. It's about the six figures and everything else.
Yeah. And if
you're Tennessee, it's about the fact that you didn't prepare for when you were going to lose a player, which is what you always had to do in college before this idiocy began.
Or maybe they did, and they're just like, yeah, I think this is the better option, and I have a window of opportunity to have a 27-year-old starting quarterback who also started for us last year. I'm going to take that. And so I'm going to argue the most ridiculous things in order to try and get to the end of the golden pot, which is exactly that, ignoring literally everything else. I don't care about what any of the consequences about this. If I get my 8th year starting quarterback, if I get my center for a NCAA tournament run, then nothing else matters.
Right.
That is the problem. That is the problem.
Because nobody cares about the greater good.
Correct. We're back. 7 o'clock hour is coming up next on 1620 The Zone. Well, have you seen this? Have you heard about this? Bill Moose, Nebraska's former athletic director, he has
a man who could see the future.
He has written and released a book. It's called. Do you know what it's called?
Is it the Book of Moose?
No, that would be funnier. It is called
the Crab Creek.
The Crab
Chronicles.
Creek Chronicles.
Yeah.
Which, if you would have told me that we've known this book is coming for a year because Sipple loves talking about. Honestly, I loved asking him about it for the record. When's Bill Moose's book coming out?
At one point, I thought Sybil was ghostwriting the book.
I kind of thought that too, but it's very clear that he's not.
No,
given the writing of
someone else wrote the book,
which we'll get to in just a moment. But if you would have told me that the first word of this book title is crab, I would have been very surprised by that. Would have been very, very surprised by that.
Every time. So I was driving around yesterday while John and Josh were talking about it, and the amount of pleasure that John took in just saying the title every time. Then he'd be like, our latest excerpt from the Crab Creek Chronicles.
It's very funny.
I was
It's
like, he's
very
really
funny.
enjoying this.
There's a lot of Bill Moose. There's a lot of Ronnie Green. There's a lot of there's some Hank Bounds going on. There's some Scott Frost.
There's a lot of Jim Pillen.
Jim Pillan.
Jim Pillan.
He
spelled it wrong.
Misspelled Jim Pillen in every instance of Jim Pillen in the book.
Yeah, well.
Back when he was Regent Pillen, he was Regent Pillan at the time, and he was mentioned in the
Wants
book.
to say with some
Is this like a
finesse.
self-published book?
Yes.
Okay.
So, he used some sort of like self-published book service that like kind of edits it for him and makes it feel like he's a real writer. It's called Storybridge Agency.
Okay.
And so here is the website. At Storybridge Agency, we take your scattered notes, vivid ideas, or half-written chapters and turn them into books that hold weight in the real world. Fiction or nonfiction, memoir or manual. Our editors, marketers, and illustrators know the unspoken rules of the publishing and writing world like no one else. Which, are they AI? I don't know. I don't know what's going on here. But basically, he gave them 700 pages worth of a book, and they turned it into a 700.
They turned it into Crab Creek Chronicles.
Which it very well could have been I'm sure it could have been like a 300-page book or a 250-page book. There's no reason to have a 700-page Bill Moose book.
Well, he had a really long career in the,
it's too many words.
era.
Everybody knows if you're writing a book, save it for the second book. Save it for the sequel. Nobody wants to read a 700-page Bill Moose book.
Josh Peterson does.
Especially not now. No, Josh does not want to read a 700-page Bill Moose book.
He might.
I mean, he might do it. I don't know if he wants to.
He loves to read.
He's been excited about this for a while.
It is reading season for Josh now that football is over. There's 2 seasons for Josh. It's football season and reading season.
Used to be running season, but running season got replaced by reading.
Well, running is the entire year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not the same for him anymore.
It's not quite as intense. It doesn't seem anymore. Anyway, speaking of Josh, he had some screenshots yesterday. I got to get up, which, by the way, Josh, Matt, I mean, you got to send me the Kindle login information so I could get some screenshots going too. These guys were just ripping off screenshots of this book yesterday, and now Bill Moose is gonna be pissed because people aren't gonna buy his 700-page book. They're just gonna read the Nebraska excerpts.
There was definitely a lot of copyright infringement that would be going on, but I don't know if that's a thing that's protected when you use Caring Bridge story time.
Storybridge Agency. Caring Bridge story time is just a daycare story time, I think.
I may or may not have known that was entirely wrong as I was saying it.
All right. So everybody's looking for the Scott Frost stuff, right? Schaefer's so uninterested in this. This is amazing.
No, I mean, I look. Anytime you can have a one source story that claims to be the most clairvoyant individual in the world.
Oh, no. Okay, so let's say that out front. This is all Bill Moose,
Yeah.
who is crazy. I mean, we have experienced this already. None of this is trustworthy, but it's all from it's his
mind
side
of
of the
Bill
story.
Moose.
It's the mind
Yeah.
of Bill Moose, unedited and
Unfiltered.
unvetted, and unlooked at by anyone else.
Very unvetted.
Yeah,
Very, very unvetted.
except for possibly Steve Sipple, who may have had a look at this before it came out.
I doubt he actually had a look at it. I would imagine it was
Bounce
more
some
like a
things off
series
him.
of phone calls.
Yeah, like, hey, do you remember how this went?
Which, I mean, I don't know.
I get
if
it.
If you're simple, there's probably a level to how much you want to remember or how much you actually do know.
A definite good note to throw out there before we read the excerpts. Okay. The meeting in Philadelphia, it wasn't just cheesesteaks, as he said at the introductory press conference of Scott Frost. We got the pick of the litter. As pissed off as I was that Matt Davison unexpectedly sat in on the meeting, I was glad he did, as it prompted me to tell Kendra, my wife, to stay in the room. And like many times before, her intuition proved to be invaluable. He's not ready, she said, after closing the door that just left the two of us in the room. So Matt and Scott leave, and Bill Moose's wife says, he's not ready, quote, too immature. Moose says, yep, I agree. But if I don't pursue him with everything I've got and he ends up at Tennessee or Florida, I'm screwed. And the response to that was, yeah, but if you bring Nebraska's golden boy home and he falls flat on his face, you're really screwed. Remember, people have short memories.
Yeah, these sound like real conversations.
Definitely. That was my reaction at the time. I mean,
I'm sure a woman that's never met Scott Frost before would refer to him flippantly as Golden Boy based off of this individual meeting.
Well, let's evaluate the potential accuracy of, upon meeting him for the first time, you could tell outwardly that he is immature.
I just don't.
That seems possible. That
maybe.
Now, I don't know if it was like exactly in the moment,
right?
But definitely seems possible.
But what? So
if that's the case, then we have already heard Frost's side of the story, which was he was not sure about any of this. Yeah. He didn't want to do it, and apparently Bill Moose, the AD, he didn't really want to do it all that much, and yet he still ended up being the coach at Nebraska.
Yeah.
Incredible.
It's kind of amazing where somehow neither the guy who's tasked with finding the coach or the coach himself, both of which embarked on this thing together, end up claiming that public pressure is the entire reason that it happened.
So you're starting
just blaming the fans.
This is starting to paint the picture of the things that you were going to hear throughout these excerpts and throughout the book about his time at Nebraska, which is this. And I don't know, like, this would track with a lot of things that we've heard. This would track with just Nebraska in like the post Tom Osborne era, that it be messy.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a lot of people who have a lot of different opinions about things that are going on and that want to go on, and they meddle and they meddle and they meddle and they meddle. And that's essentially what Moose, in his very Moosian way, is describing here.
Yeah, and wouldn't even contend with the idea that there's been too many cooks in the kitchen at Nebraska. That's been a thing for a long time. My contention is that they're just woefully devoid of stuff. So unless there's more in the chapter and
there
Matt
might
and
be.
Josh just chose not to put it out there.
It's possible.
What exactly occurred in the meeting that would leave his wife to think he's immature?
Would have been a nice detail in the 700-page book.
You have all of these other details that we'll get into. But for some reason,
there's some very specific details on other things.
Yeah, but
I put my briefcase down on the chair. It's literally a line that you're about to hear in a minute.
But for some reason in this meeting, which is really sort of important for establishing everything else. And we learned that his wife knew in that instant that it was, going to be a failure. And Bill Moose did not want to hire
without the detail of why. Without like, it's a great point because I mean, it's very possible that was the thought or the prevailing thought coming out of it.
My very first question on this, if I was editing the book, was okay, but
what
why?
happened? Like what you left us from when they opened the door to the meeting to when they closed the door after they leave. What happened?
Like, there's no detail of what happened in the meeting. There's no, there's no explanation as to what his concerns were.
Just
he's
not ready. Like if they skipped over that scene in the movie, I'd be so pissed. I'd be like, what happened?
Be like, why is the rest of this going on? But
if you just get like one scene is direct cut to Moose and to Frost and Davison coming in the room, maybe you paint the picture that Frost is like wearing gym shorts and is disheveled or something like that.
He's got a backwards hat on.
And then all of a sudden the next clip is the door slamming shut and Kendra, Bill Moose's wife, saying he's not ready.
Yeah, or maybe he's like,
I'd be so pissed.
Maybe he's like, you need me more than I need you. Maybe there's that. I don't know. We wouldn't know because it's not in the book. Probably because it didn't happen.
Here's a good here's a good piece of lack of editing. It's recalling a time in. Well, this is early on, I believe, in his time. Sit over here, Hank, Bounds said as he pointed to the chair directly across from Ronnie. Chancellor Green has something for you. Complying with Hank's instructions, I took my seat, and after placing my briefcase in the chair next to me, watched as Ronnie's shaking hand extended what appeared to be a document of some kind toward me, and with a trembling voice told me to read it slowly and with caution. Once again, very highly detailed. I took what turned out to be a 2-page letter and then became filled with shock as I read it. I was truly aghast. The sucker punch contained in those 2 pages made the earhole hit that I took in my first college football game at Kansas look like a sock hop slow dance. Schaefer is very curious at this point, I can tell.
Yeah, no, I've read this.
Addressed to Mr. William Moose, it started with "Dear Mr. Moose," and then immediately stated that he had received several reports regarding my inappropriate and unprofessional behavior in public settings. He then went on to say that on multiple occasions, his wife, Kendra, had been abusive and demeaning to members of my staff. His final claim was that I had authorized several modifications to my office that caused him to question my judgment and commitment to good stewardship of university resources. The details of these claims filled the first page of the letter, while the corresponding directives dominated the second. I was to discontinue the consumption of alcohol. I would undergo an evaluation for alcohol addiction and authorize the release of the results to him. Kendra was to cease any interaction with my staff unless there was a direct need for her involvement, and any failure of it would result in her immediate ban from all athletic facilities and events. It concluded by stating that failure to adhere to these directives would result in disciplinary action, including termination. It was signed Ronnie D. Green. Ronnie. And then, so basically they had heard about this, and then he detailed a situation. So this is about the drinking part, which there was rumors his entire, time of being here. Although this would have been earlier, I think, than anybody sort of started talking about this. I wonder why people started talking about it. It's almost like there were some people who wanted people to start talking about it. It's kind of interesting.
This would have been, I think, 2021, right?
Not sure. Not 100% sure on when this is. But he said, the next week, I attended 2 days of Big Ten meetings in Chicago, where I refrained from having anything to drink at various social events. I did, however, open a small bottle of liquor in the confines of my hotel room that I retrieved from its hospitality bar to enjoy on the final night. When checking out the next morning, I purposely asked the person at the front desk to put that charge on a separate credit card to avoid it being submitted for reimbursement by the university. Within a couple of days, I was called back into the conference room and rebuked for having a drink in my room while in Chicago. Quote, "I'll be damned," I said to myself. The bastards put a PI on me. Bill Moose thought that he was being watched.
Yeah. again, just going back to the previous one, there's a 2-page letter that theoretically he should still own, right? Like if this letter existed, he could put it in verbatim in the book.
Yeah.
If the letter actually existed, or
It'd be a nice attachment.
if he still had it, there'd be some detail in there. We could learn about what the modifications of his office are.
Oh, it'd be interesting.
What did he do? Did he put in like an entire wall that's a fish tank?
Maybe. I mean, Trev, when Trev came in, he was very forthcoming about the frivolous nature of his predecessors. That's for sure.
Trev felt like everyone was frivolous everywhere in the athletic department.
Yep.
And he made a lot of enemies in his first few months.
He did.
By going in and collecting money and canceling contracts.
He was like, this is not right. And what do you guys do here? And then changed.
Yeah.
And now I think we're back to kind of the other way. With just for the record, I think we've kind of gone back the other direction here to spending a whole bunch of money and hiring a bunch of different people. And there's like a lot, but anyway, that's a separate conversation.
Yeah. I don't know that you're wrong.
Mm-hmm. For a separate time. Would you like some more?
Yeah, absolutely. Keep
going. Awesome.
Oh, is he going to get sucker punched again?
He's going to be surprised by some things, I think. So he, at this point, it's late in the Tim Miles era in basketball, and he is interested in making a change, as everybody sort of thought would happen after the 2018-19 season. 18-19 or 17-18? 18-19.
It was 18-19.
Yeah. After things have sputtered, Moose is on the prowl, and he writes this. The atmosphere in the room felt eerily familiar as Ronnie again, with his shaking hands and a crackling voice, started the conversation. Regent Palan understands that you're interested in making a change. That's Regent Jim Pillen, who is now the governor of the state, his name is repeatedly misspelled in this book. You are interested in making a change to the basketball coach and is interested in who you might be considering as a replacement. Yes, I said, I think a change would be good, and I will share who I am thinking about possibly pursuing, but we need to keep it between us. There should be no problem with that, Ronnie said. Okay, I replied with a smile. Hang on, this is big. I have reason to believe that there's a chance we can attract Dana Altman. Just then, a cold hush came over the room. Ronnie's face was directed toward me, but his eyes shifted back and forth between his table mates before Palan responded, saying one simple word, no. No, I asked. Nebraskans won't accept him. Jim, he's from Wilbur. You can't get much more Nebraska than that. He's gone to more NCAA tournaments just while he's been at Oregon than Nebraska has gone to in its history, including a Final Four 2 years ago. He's among the hottest coaches in the country. Furthermore, no other sitting Power 5 coach would give this job a second look, is apparently what Moose exclaimed, having all that information at the top of his head. Then you'd better try going to a lower level, Palan apparently said. So let me get this straight. I am not to consider Dana Altman as a possible candidate for this head coaching position. That is correct. With that, I abruptly said, all right, is that it? That's it, Palan replied. I responded by saying, all right, gentlemen, enjoy the game. And then I stood up and left the room.
What game?
A game of some, I don't know.
Yeah.
Some basketball game.
Well, that couldn't be true because Bill Moose hadn't been over to the arena.
But he did go to the basketball game later after everyone thought he wasn't going to the basketball game.
Yeah, in 2021, he managed to go to a basketball game, and I watched from my seats as the World Herald had a guy scale the side.
Scale the wall, yeah.
So you could get a photo of just a very unhappy Bill Moose sitting in his suite with the light off.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was the day that everybody thought that he was about to get fired because I'm pretty sure Nebraska put out a statement that there was, because the rumors were so he was going to rehab like that. Yeah.
I was in this chair doing this show with Damon Benning when everything was just sort of spiraling that week.
Awesome. Fantastic. Let me say
late January of 2021.
Let me say this. classic Bill Moose to think that he could have gotten Dana Altman. I don't think he would have gotten Dana Altman. Also hilarious. If that is true, first of all, the meddling is right there again. But imagine just saying no to Dana. Like, no, we cannot have Dana Altman.
I would love to know what the Jim Pillan's beef with Dana Altman was.
Yeah, what's the reasoning there?
Dana Altman has been this like white whale of Nebraska basketball coaching searches.
There may have been a time, and that time was passed long before that moment, I believe.
Yeah, I don't know if it ever really crossed over as to when that could have happened. Or what Nebraska's actual interest in it. Again, I'm just dubious of these conversations happening the way that they're being portrayed.
Me too.
Jim Pillan had a lot of power. There's no question about that.
Pillan.
Jim Pillan, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea why he would just outright say no to Dana Altman. No idea at all.
Hated Jack Fest or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I have no clue. I mean,
don't say that.
He's certainly a man of he's certainly a man of opinion. So it wouldn't surprise me if he had one. I would just expect it to be more than just no.
That was it.
Nebraskans wouldn't accept him.
I don't think that. I don't believe that is true.
It's also
now there is like probably a handful of crazy people who are like, that guy has Creighton stink all over him and we could never hire him.
Yeah.
But those people are far outweighed by the people who are like, oh yeah, this is a really good coach and we'd be taking him from an excellent high major program already and it would be nothing but an incredible hire for us. Most people, I think, would see that.
I
don't know. Jim Pillan was probably talking to the 6 weirdo idiots who were like, Creighton? He coached at Creighton?
Or this just never happened.
In Kansas State, or this just never happened. Very possible.
The other part of it is like the timing of this would fascinate me because by like mid-February, Nebraska had been linked so heavily to Fred Hoiberg that when did this even occur?
I'm not sure. Probably before that. I mean,
but there was
they went after Altman and pivoted to Fred.
And Nebraska's season didn't like completely die until the end of January when Copeland got hurt.
Yeah.
So like it would put a really
pretty
small window in there where he pivots from Dana Altman, a guy who had just recently been to the Final Four, to Fred Hoiberg, and he didn't have to go to a lower level to get him.
He most certainly did not.
So congratulations.
He just had to wait for Fred to get fired from the NBA. Or maybe he was already fired by the NBA at that point.
That'll be, maybe his lasting legacy as the AD is that he got
he hired Fred.
He
hired Fred, which almost turned out to be a disaster and then didn't very quickly. All right, we'll take a break. We'll take your thoughts on it. I do want to read a couple comments.
Yeah, there's got to be more, right?
No, there's more. There's more, and we'll read a couple comments as well when we return on Happer and Schaefer on 1620 The Zone. Actually, you know what? Before we do that, if you've stuck around through Bill Moose's ramblings,
Crab Creek Chronicles,
we would like to give you a prize for doing that. How would you like to go to the Omaha Supernovas game on Sunday, February 15th at 5 o'clock at the CHI Health Center? We have tickets for you right now, 2 of them, in fact. So be caller number 3 at 402-951-1620 right now. 402-951-1620. Caller number 3 gets 2 tickets to the Supernovas and the Orlando Valkyries Sunday at 5 downtown in Omaha. We'll be back after this on 1620 The Zone. All right, let's get to these tweets first, or correspondences anyway. First one's from Kyle on the Twitter feed. Kyle says, "It's funny what a mess Nebraska has been under many administrations, and you guys are still like, no, this is BS and mostly made up. It's funny to hear the denial from you two." Kyle, you completely missed the point. Congratulations. But you have to understand who is saying these things and how, and the delivery method in which they are saying them. We also said that there's almost no doubt that Nebraska has been a disaster in the higher up for a long, long time now.
A lot of cooks in the kitchen.
But you can't take his direct word for all of this stuff. Like, be careful, because when you just when you agree to the details of like, oh, this exact thing definitely happened, especially considering how unreliable of a source Bill Moose is, once again, the fired and obviously aggrieved former athletic director, just consider that for me real quick. Not denying anything, but just consider the source. That's all we ask.
Yeah. I mean, there's no doubt on either of our minds that Nebraska has had a bit of a tire fire within its administration.
And that Scott Frost
and
was
Bill
immature.
Moose would be a large part of that tire fire.
Correct.
So it's hard for me to just assume that he was not also involved in at least the gasoline that continued the fire, and that he was actually standing over there with a fire extinguisher, and Jim Polan told him, no, Nebraskans would not appreciate that.
Yeah, like that conversation definitely happened.
So
I believe that Pillen or whatever was meddling, like that seems, that tracks. Like regents were meddling.
There's
I'm
overtones
shocked
of all of this that
Yeah.
I absolutely believe. We got another email where someone's like, yeah, you wouldn't need to spend much time around Scott Frost or Jim Pillen to think that one would be immature and the other would be meddling. And it's like, that's not really what we're saying.
That's not the point of what we said.
I'm saying that if you have this massive meeting and it's the biggest decision in your tenure, and you put absolutely no detail in the meeting that happens in Philadelphia, unless it's on some other page, and I don't think it is, or it would have been out there.
Mm-hmm.
And your wife is so clairvoyant that she just knows immediately that this is going to be a failure. It smacks of just completely revisionist history.
Right.
And if you don't
Not
have the
that
ability
couldn't
to
have been
decipher
true.
that, then you're someone who just believes literally everything you read.
I mean, listen, nobody thought that when Frost was hired, I shouldn't say nobody, because there's always some people. And I guess I heard this like a little bit at the time. Like, even if there was a thought that Frost was immature and he wasn't ready, nobody would have cared. They were going to hire him, and everyone wanted him.
He was the coach of an undefeated team at that time, and being pursued by all the other teams that were then hiring.
Yeah.
It was, unfortunately for Bill Moose, the only hire that he could make. And I can speak with tons of credibility on this. He very much was interested in Justin Fuentes, too. That was the backup option. When he thought that this was going to fall through, that was the guy.
I have the names in my desk drawer.
So it's not that they didn't have other ideas, but it was very much, there's this view of Scott Frost now that's divorced from what it was when he was hired in 2017. It's divorced of what people thought about him even as far up to, 2022. There's many, many people that felt like this was going to turn around at some point in time.
Mustache Adam commented before, he said, I understand we're only getting his side of things, but I also think we need to start having more conversations about how Nebraska's issues are systemic beyond who coaches football and who the AD is.
I feel like we've had those conversations.
Yeah, I mean, that's like a constant present thing.
Part of like me talking about why I don't understand the disdain for Trev Alberts is that he was an adult in the room when they've lacked one for so long. Mm-hmm. Part of why I don't have a whole lot of interest in what Bill Moose has to say is I thought he was a jackass as an AD and horrible at his job. And this book is not going to help reflect or change my opinion on them. That's
absolutely.
This was a guy who was given a job in 2017 to run the Nebraska athletic department. And really all he wanted to do was play good old boy AD and not really do anything else that wasn't just sort of manage the football program. And now his book is, I was right on every issue, but they never agreed with what I had to say. I don't buy any of it. Like, none of it.
And Trev took the high road. Trev never said anything about anything. He
Right.
just left. And, we all had to wonder why. And, not now, because it's always, we knew at the time.
Yeah.
But the more you hear about who was in charge, and this is not just those people at that time. This is a lot of people over a long time.
Sure.
But this
has been an issue for 20 plus years.
It's just metal. It's people who have power, or who have the ability to voice their opinions and have those opinions heard by people who are, quote unquote, making decisions. They take that opportunity a lot at Nebraska. It's one of those things that has happened. Now, do we need to talk about that more? I mean, the only way, like, I suppose you could tell a little bit in the moment when stuff sort of smells that way. I suppose. Rule comes out and he's like, hey, we have to stop worrying about the optics and stuff like that. Like, that's a good example of it, but we talked about that at the time. So I don't feel like we're flying blind here.
No.
On any of that stuff over the last 20 years. It's all out there. And once again, to repeat, like, I believe Bill Moose and what he's saying, but I just don't think we could just take this and say, well, this is the truth. This is definitely what happened because he put it in a book. Once again, you have to consider how this stuff gets out there. When you read a newspaper article, it has been reported from several different angles, from all these different people, and verified
and vetted
and confirmed. Yeah. When Bill Moose puts out a book, it's from his brain to a pad of paper. Right? Like,
and
there's
can't even spell the governor's name.
There's no strainer that's in there. It doesn't filter out anything.
And
it's just what it is. And that's okay because he has the ability to write a book. I just want people to understand, like, it just because it's on paper doesn't mean it's the 100% truth. That's all. I don't think I don't have the ability to deny anything that he is claiming here.
And there's definitely stuff in there that I 100% believe is accurate to the idea of what it is. The way that he portrays it, I don't know that I believe. He absolutely was interested in going to the Big 12. We heard about that at the time.
That's a good one,
He absolutely was furious about the idea of not playing Oklahoma. He was absolutely furious about Nebraska.
We saw through that one right away.
Yeah. I mean,
because I said the day of, I was like, this is not Bill Moose.
Yeah.
Bill Moose would never do this.
Right.
Because he is a college football traditionalist. And this has Scott Frost written all over it because he is a sissy.
A weasel?
A weasel. Right.
I absolutely believe that he would have been incredulous that Scott Frost wouldn't have wanted to play the Rutgers game, and certainly was unhappy that they didn't play in the bowl game. All of that, I believe. It's not just that I'm deciding that everything that he's written is untrue. It's that there's an element to this that is entirely from a perspective in which he is championing himself above all these events that happen.
Correct.
When he is a main fixture in many of the things that happen.
And he has the ability to write that in his own book because that's his book. That's so I just, like, I know you guys aren't dumb, but, like, that's what you have to understand about this. Like, we got a comment on YouTube from Jimmy that said fans aren't dumb. Like, I also like you have to understand how that stuff happens. So we got an email from I think it was actually a text. It was from John, who says, I think the issue of not covering the meddling is pretty complete lack of investigative reporting to the public. You guys that are behind the scenes and in the know and can speak in code every now and again on air have that information, but for the public, it's just hearsay. I totally get why our local media members avoid that because the university itself and football are behemoths in the local market. Just ask Josh. But at some point, ... So, like, once again, in order to report and I'm no writer, but I think I know how it works. Like, in order to publicly report a story like that would, like, uncover years and years of I mean, it'd take a long time, first of all, because you got to talk to a lot of people over a long period of time, see it from a variety of different sides. 75% of the people probably don't want to go on record about it. If maybe even less than that, or more than that. And like, it's not because anybody is trying to hide anything, and it's not because anybody is worried about getting their access pulled or anything like that. People always say that crap, and it annoys the living hell out of me. Like, it's just what you can report and what you can say from journalistic standards. And yeah, sometimes the media will hear something and they'll wink or whatever. And like, that is, I felt like that's what people want. That's what people want to hear. They want to hear us say stuff like that, but it can't be this big blown out story because it's not sourced and verified and stuff like this. This is a talk show. You know what I mean? Like, there's just, I don't know. Maybe we get into the whole media thing, and I guess people just will never see it that way, as much as we try to explain it.
Well, I mean, it's as simple as this. I mean, Bill Moose would have had ample opportunity to go on the record about any of this stuff when he was the AD at Nebraska, and he never chose to.
Yeah.
Why is it coming out now? Just ask yourself that.
Right.
Because it's in a book where financially it's an incentive for him to put it out there. Is it he needs to get all of these stories out before he loses them in the recess of his brain? I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm not even trying to assign nefarious action to any of it. I'm just saying, feel free to be skeptical on at least the idea that how he's portraying himself relative to everyone else should matter, and you should take note of the tone of which is being used.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean that there isn't some element of truth, because there absolutely is.
Absolutely. Scott Frost was definitely immature.
Yeah,
we know that.
It's just, if your wife was able to determine that in the first meeting, some specific nature as to why would be a good idea.
Yeah. It's definite revisionist history. Like, we got that email from Chris who said, it's interesting that you think it would take anyone more than 30 seconds to realize that Frost was too mature. But very few people, once again, not everybody, but very few people said that when he got hired in December of 2017, because they didn't want to talk about that stuff.
Right.
Nobody wanted to talk about it. They just wanted to go, all right, let's go forward and put everything around him. This is it. And they didn't care to look at whether he was mature or immature, if he's ready or not ready. He was just the coach of the undefeated team who emotionally left and is bringing his entire staff with him, and everybody viewed everything that he ever did as a good thing, right? So if at the time somebody would have made the case that he wears a backwards hat and, loves chewing tobacco and he's immature, they would have said, no, that makes him cool. I love him because of that stuff, because it makes him one of the guys. That's why his players love him. That's what they would have said. That's what everyone would have said at that time. Revisionist history is, now that we saw how it went, it was bad. He was immature the entire time. And now it's like, oh, yeah.
There's also an element to this where people want the tell-all, but in the moment of which the tell-all happens, there's a large amount of skepticism and they don't believe the tell-all. So it kind of cuts, when everybody's gone, then it's easy to believe it.
Mm-hmm.
But if people are still there, like if things came out, whenever they do, there's always a healthy skepticism from the fan base that, you've got an axe to grind, this, that, or the other.
Yep.
I mean, it's just how it goes.
Can't really win. Yep. All right, we'll take a break. Joey's got the headlines when we return on 1620 The Zone. All right, let's do the headlines here. Maybe there will be more Bill Moose, but we do have to talk about Nebraska ball tonight. Nebraska and Purdue coming up at Pinnacle Bank Arena this evening. We'd love
Big game.
We'd love a 6:00 tip, folks.
Nice and early.
Are you going, Schaefer?
I am going.
Excellent. We'll talk about that.
Gonna get a beard trim before the game. Gonna feel like nice and fresh and everything. It's gonna be.
You're
great.
gonna be so back.
Just don't
I'm very
lose your
excited
voice.
about it.
Don't what, Joey?
Just don't lose your voice.
It had
I think it
so
was a
much
sickness.
less to do with the basketball game than it did with the
well, maybe
attack on my
maybe you'll
vocal
find out
cords and
45
throat.
minutes prior to the game who's officiating, and then you will actually lose your voice or something like that.
No, I'll make sure that I'm good and ready for Wednesday.
All right, let's hit the headlines, Joey. What do we got?
Okay, the first headline, I saved this for today. Boxer loses hair piece in the ring and blames mother's shampoo.
I saw this. I thought he handled this really well. Have you heard about this story?
No,
Okay.
I don't know this one at all, but I am interested.
All right, the second one is local bar owner forced to eat Wendy's chili for 1 month.
You kind of get the story, right?
Yeah, but I do want to know why he has to eat it. But then it could be something dumb like it's a
fantasy
league.
football.
I had this is an aside. I had a conversation in a group text where I was like, I think the fantasy football punishments have like jumped the shark.
100%.
They're not funny. Like there's a guy who had to fly to Mumbai or whatever.
And watch the Super Bowl in Mumbai at a hotel
And it's
lobby. Yes.
People are just doing this for the viral nature of it now. It's no longer organic or fun or funny. It's just
Well, I could tell you
lame.
this is not a fantasy football related
Okay.
punishment.
I still think
We're
you gotta-
going to the box.
You
here.
still got to take the
Okay.
boxer. Yeah.
Alrighty. So American boxer Jarrell Miller won his heavyweight bout in New York by a hair's breadth on Saturday, but lost his wig when the toupee started to come away. The American's hairpiece came loose at the front and taking a flurry of punches from opponent Kingsley Iba during the clash at Madison Square Garden. Noticing it had been dislodged at the end of a round, the 37-year-old smiled and threw it into the crowd. Despite losing the hair, the boxer managed to keep his head and clinch victory by a split decision. Bizarrely, the boxer claimed that his hair had burned off after shampooing with bleach and he had to get an emergency toupee. Speaking about what had happened in his post-fight interview, Miller said, I get to my mama's house and she had some shampoo bottles on the table. I shampooed it. It was like ammonium bleach. I literally lost my hair like 2 days ago. So I called my manager and said, get me one of those mains. And I slapped that on real quick. I'm a comedian. I make fun of myself. The bout was on the undercard of Teofimo Lopez and Shakur Stevenson's WBO super lightweight title fight, which Stevenson won by unanimous decision.
Yeah, I thought he did a really good job of just being like, "Yep, that's what happened. Here's the story." I don't know why he felt like he could wear a toupee into the ring and get away with it and not have it get completely blown off by his opponent. I don't know why he felt that was going to be a good idea for him, or maybe he did it purposefully just as a way to get himself some more pub from this, which he has very successfully done.
Yeah.
He's on the blogs.
More people know about him now, certainly. Did you know his nickname is Big Baby?
No.
How do you
Did
feel
not.
about that?
My daughter would really like it because her favorite word to say is baby.
Hudson likes to say baby.
It's
Okay.
her best word.
So how do we feel about the repurposing of nicknames? Because I feel like Glenn Davis is Big Baby.
I don't know. Maybe
Good old Big Baby Davis.
One big baby leaves, and we are blessed with another big.
So there
baby.
can't be two at the same time.
I think so.
I'm actually. It helps that he's in a different.
Without
sport.
thinking about it very
entirely.
much, yeah, I believe that's what I'm saying. Yes.
Okay, so he can be Big Baby Miller,
Now I probably will never talk about this person again.
Jarrell Big Baby.
Yeah, I'll probably never talk about Jarrell.
Will you talk about Glenn Davis much more?
No. Something went wrong with him.
He got into legal trouble.
Yeah, there is some stuff going on.
I think it was some gambling trouble. I don't
Is
know.
it tax evasion?
Okay. So he, along with 18 other former NBA players, was indicted by a federal grand jury in the Southern District Court in New York on charges of conspiracy to commit healthcare fraud and wire fraud for allegedly defrauding the NBA's health and welfare benefit plan. Whoa. He got 40 months in prison.
Oh, big baby.
40, so he's in jail right now. Big baby's in jail.
Who do you think Class A will go to the same jail?
He put all the former athletes who are
There's just
frauding
an
people.
athlete jail.
Now that's interesting.
I would be interested in athlete jail.
Class A is going to big jail now.
Class A is
Yeah. That's a lot of throwing games.
to basically for the small amount of financial incentive.
Yeah, it was like 25 grand or something like that.
The guy
He gets paid millions of dollars a year.
Yeah, ruins his life for an insubstantial amount of money.
That is not smart, folks.
No, it isn't.
That is not smart. All right. Thank you, Joey. We will come back 8 o'clock hour. Let's talk about Nebraska ball coming up on 1620 The Zone. And there's still more Bill Moose lines, stories, things of that nature from the Crab Creek Chronicles, including that one time he actually was moving to get Nebraska out of the Big Ten and into the Big 12 during COVID when they couldn't play.
That would have been such a disaster.
Oh no, disaster. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Oh, wait. Oh, sorry, Joey. I was about to hit a drop there.
Oh no! Disaster!
Exactly. That's what it would have been.
I thought you were going with Bill Moose's "Oh no" when Demery Croft ran for about 1,000 yards.
54-21. That was a bad day.
Then he denied it. I wonder if that's in the book. If he admits.
Oh, great question. If he actually yelled, "Oh no,"
he did because
everyone
saw
heard
him.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. People claim the media doesn't report. We were on that right away.
He really did. Why did he deny that? I don't even understand
No
why
idea.
he would deny that.
No clue. There's no reason to deny it.
There's no reason to deny it.
People love that he did it.
Yeah.
And it was
that's what everyone was thinking. Unfortunately, he got fired right after that.
Most people won't ever have the opportunity to be in the press box up there, but so right next to where the Nebraska media largely sits is the visiting AD, and you can't see into it, but you get the shadows. You can pick out the people pretty easily. And his hand is just up against the window. I remember this plain as day, and then just the noise of no.
Yep. Great
Demery
times.
Croft running.
It's sometimes speaking of people reporting things, the visitors 80 box at Memorial Stadium is close to where you and I would sit. And sometimes you hear loud screams and cheers and things like that from there, and table pounding, lots of table pounding. That gets talked about sometimes on social media. You see a tweet every now and then.
Yeah, not too much though. I feel like probably 10 years ago that was a bigger thing. I remember when Penn State came to Nebraska the first time, and it was 2012.
Oh yeah.
And Matt McGloin got stopped short of the end zone.
Good one.
And their
What a
media
memory.
contingent was so unhappy with the call on the I had not really ever been around that at that point. And they were quite vocal about their displeasure with the officiating in that exact moment. And then there was two guys that sat right in front of Brunts and I. I was just calling them Statler and Waldorf because they had to have a conversation. They were old. And they had to have a conversation about literally everything that was happening, and it was loud. And
They didn't
shut up.
Two old dudes covering Penn State.
Give me my completely devoid of any senses ability to watch football here in the press box.
If those two old dudes been covering Penn State as long as it appeared that they were covering Penn State, they were going to be talking loudly. They didn't care. They did not care.
They did not, and they were very annoying.
Back when Nebraska joined the league, there was there was an old guy with a recorder who basically covered one of every program.
Well, it was Sid Hartman for the
Sid,
the Gophers.
He had his giant recorder.
Yeah.
He would sit in the front row. He would have to basically wheel it in, and he would still be in there asking questions all the way basically up until he died.
Yeah, no, no one took more joy in the times of which Nebraska losing in that building than Sid Hartman.
Yeah.
Who
he would show up at the basketball games.
Yeah,
I mean, he would travel to everything.
He's revered up there.
No doubt. All right, let's talk about basketball tonight. Speaking of basketball, Nebraska and Purdue. You know what? Let me check. I haven't checked the odds recently. I would assume Nebraska is in the neighborhood of a 2-point favorite.
2.
How about 1.5?
That sounds about right.
1.5 tonight. KenPom projects Nebraska for a 3-point win this evening. So if
that would cover.
If you are a KenPom bettor, then yes, you were betting Nebraska minus 1.5 tonight. It's really interesting. I was looking at these two teams just from a trend perspective last night. And, Purdue obviously has had a couple of, fairly interesting results as of late. I think that game against Oregon where they barely got out of there with a win sort of sticks in people's mind. They beat the living hell out of Maryland, and they lost 3 in a row before that, Indiana, Illinois, and UCLA. They have not been playing their best basketball lately. I think there is some concern there that maybe Purdue's wildest dreams will not be coming true as far as winning a national championship, because that's what they were setting out to do this year. I was looking at both teams over the last, basically 5 games. Purdue has played some of their worst defense in that period of time. They've course corrected a bit over the last 2 in their wins against Maryland and Oregon. But in that 3-game stretch where they lost 3 in a row, UCLA, Illinois, and Indiana, they were pretty bad defensively. And then the 2 games against Iowa and Penn State, they were also pretty bad defensively. And so they're right now, even though they only won 68-64 against Oregon, they're sort of getting carried by their offense. I think if you ask Nebraska a similar question, like, just think about the trend over the last 5 or so games, Nebraska would probably tell you that they have lost a step on defense. Not that it's like gone forever, but you go back to that middle portion of the season when they really started off Big Ten play incredibly well. Like I guess starting with the Creighton game, like starting there and going all the way through the first of the year, the Michigan State game. I mean, their defense was incredible, with the exception of the road win against Illinois. I mean, just incredible defense night in and night out. And recently, it's just been a little bit topsy-turvy for a variety of different reasons. So I'm interested to see what kind of game we get tonight. Can Nebraska's thing where they crash down in the paint and really run you off the 3-point line, which hasn't been necessarily completely airtight lately, can they do that while shedding all you have 2 bigs that you have to deal with, a very active 2-point shooter in Trey Kaufman-Renn and then Smith and Blair from 3. It's fascinating, and Purdue needs it really bad. I think if you're doing like a desperation factor, Purdue probably wins it tonight. They need it. They need it.
Yeah, I think they need it more.
They need it. That's what I'm saying. They need it more. And so there's just, I really don't know how this is going to go. I think I feel good about Nebraska, but Purdue really, really needs it bad.
The defense thing is interesting because Rutgers shot like 48% on Saturday, but otherwise it's felt like Nebraska's defense has largely played pretty well. Now against Michigan and Illinois, you give up scores in the 70s.
Well, I'm not just talking about numbers of points that they've given up. Like there's stats to prove this. I mean, they played their their 3rd worst defensive game of the year against Illinois. They played their 2nd worst defensive game of the year against Illinois the first time.
Yeah, which the number 1 efficient offense in the country. Like that's just
of course
part of it.
Then you go back to the Michigan game. It was, I guess I can't. Maybe I could order these according to Torvik. But what I said was in that middle stretch of the season where it was like, whoa, they're going to be undefeated and they might be undefeated for a long time. And they were dominant on defense. And all I'm saying is it just doesn't feel like it has as much tooth to it as it did during that time.
And what I was kind of going to build to is that in both of those games, they just had like one half in each one of them where they just the first half against Michigan versus the second half, like 2 entirely different defensive performances. And then the Illinois thing kind of similar where I think Illinois put up 45, 48 points in the second half against Nebraska a couple Sundays ago. So it just they haven't been able to get the total game. Hasn't really been there in the same way that it was in some of those other performances.
So you don't agree?
Well, I think they're not playing defense at the same exact level like when they just bludgeoned Wisconsin.
That's all I'm saying.
And things like that. More of it is that they're, I think, able to get there to a really high level for one of the 2 halves. We kind of saw that against Minnesota where they completely took them out of the game in the second half after giving up 36-38 in the first. So it's just sort of been kind of interesting in that regard. And some of it is teams have gotten more looks at it. Nebraska probably isn't as spry or as healthy. I think that's definitely part of it.
100%. Yeah. I mean, so they've given up in their last, let's see. I mean, so for as much as we talk about their ability to run teams off the 3-point line, and like statistically, I think that from an efficiency standpoint, that comes off really well for them. They're giving up, 7 the last game, 9 the game before, 6 the game before that, 9 the game before. I mean, these aren't bad numbers. They've given up more than 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times this. Oh, maybe more.
Wow.
7
I
or
didn't
8
realize it was that high.
7 or 8 times this year. Right. And so it's just,
Which is remarkable because those are in all games they won.
That's right.
And the only one I can think of would be the Illinois game.
So it's really like it looks good from an efficiency standpoint because they're still making them shoot a whole bunch of threes. But yeah, I mean, they have been a little bit more susceptible this year to giving up, around that range, which will hurt you in a game like this. And why I'm saying that is because this is a team that is going to try and do that to you. And
absolutely.
They have the tools to make that happen for them. And if you're focusing too much on running them off the 3-point line, then they have bigs that can hurt you too.
I mean, a year ago, this Purdue team put up 104 points against Nebraska, who was playing the same style of defense, different players, but the same concept is it. Like Nebraska's defensive style has been the same. The difference has been Sanford and having Mass back has changed sort of the look of it, and Hoiberg has elevated to an even better on-ball defender.
Yep.
And you could argue Lawrence has been a nice, addition to that regard as well, relative to last year. I don't know if Raleigh Wooster was as good of a defender as what Jamarcus Lawrence is bringing here.
I don't know.
Wooster's inability to move by the end of the year was fairly problematic.
I remember him being sort of a pest on the ball.
Could be. I think by the end of it, his foot was so bad.
I guess I'd have to think about it a little bit. Yeah.
But no, Jamarcus has been pretty good. Not to the level that Sam, but yeah. So I just think you trade out some of those pieces, but the concept has been the same. And Purdue made it rain last year,
right,
against this Nebraska team, and they have the ability to do that.
So it's a weird game. I don't. I'm not really sure. Like I think it goes down to late. I think the vibes are in Nebraska's favor. If
I love that it's at home.
Yeah.
I mean, you have that.
They're playing. I think they're playing better right now.
Yeah,
now that's just based off of the Rutgers game, and I don't think you lost a whole lot of confidence from those 2 games last week. But the vibes are definitely better with Nebraska.
Well, and then if you want, some people think of it in this way: Purdue had to go out to Oregon, go home, and then now coming back to Nebraska. So they're traveling a little bit more, and the second end of a back-to-back and travel sometimes can be problematic. Nebraska did have to go out to New Jersey, but they're at least home for this game. So sometimes it's as simple as that, like catching a team where you're getting them at your place, coming off of a trip like they had out to Oregon.
Well, they played Oregon at home.
Oh, why did I think they were on the road to Oregon? I don't know. Maybe because the game was close.
They
played, I have no idea how.
They played Oregon at home, and then their game before that was against Maryland on the road the week before.
Yeah.
So
disregard everything I said.
Yeah, they're not really in the travel.
They were on the road.
Yeah. So I think the thing that Purdue has probably working for them is just the desperation factor. They need this to stay in the mix of the top 4.
Well, they're legitimately good. They haven't shown it in consistent form this year, but they have the ability to be a very good basketball team. They just haven't played up to that ability in the way that you would expect.
Yep. Can they make 3-pointers? So over the last let's go back to the Iowa game for Purdue. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games. 3-point totals 6, 7, 7, 7, 7, 15, and 5. So can Nebraska win a game where Purdue makes 15 threes? Probably not. Can Nebraska win a game where Purdue makes 9? Yeah, they can't. So I think you're playing in those numbers right there. And then conversely, obviously, for Nebraska's offense, they have been very consistent from shooting behind the arc. Nebraska has made double-digit threes in all but 3 of their last 10 games.
Okay. 70% of the time they're making at least 10 threes.
At least 10. 11, 11, 11, 15, 14, 13, and then the 2 games where they're under
9.
The 3 games where they're under 10 is 9 twice and 8.
Yeah. If Kevin Kugler, who's on the call tonight,
hi Kevin,
said on the podcast that I have, told me that Fletcher Lawyer is the guy. Like in his mind, if Nebraska can keep him from going off, Purdue can go only really as far as he's going. And when he's cold, and he's been cold, he's gotten a little bit better here lately. with the games against Maryland and against Oregon with 18 points and 29 points. So if he's starting to heat up, Purdue becomes a lot more dangerous. But in that stretch where they were not playing well, 5 points against UCLA, 6 points against Illinois, and 8 points against Indiana, he made 4 out of his 15 3-pointers.
It's amazing. I saw Husker Hoop Central's tweet about this yesterday. He asked like a open trivia question of like, who do you think has been to the free throw line the most times out of anyone that's going to play in this game? I would not have said the answer. I would have said somebody on Purdue, probably Clough or Kaufman-Wren. No, it's Lawyer, who has been in the line 75 times this year and shooting 88% from it, while also having a tremendously high volume of 3-pointers and shooting over 40% on those so far this year as well. So there's
defies the conventional logic that 3-point shooting teams can't get to the free throw line.
Now they don't. Purdue doesn't.
They don't get to the free throw line?
No, they don't as a team. But the most in this game is Lawyer.
Didn't they just shoot like 30 against Oregon?
They are 331st in the country in free throw.
They had a big game this last week
at this point. And Purdue went to the free throw
25 times against Oregon.
Yeah, so that was their biggest game of the season for free throw.
Which they needed it because they won by 4.
Yep. So it's an option for them when they do. That's obviously not the way they want to play. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes tonight. D'Lo writes in, Connor isn't sure who will win, but we all know who he's rooting for. D'Lo's trying to trigger me again.
You're just rooting for everybody to have a good time.
No, I'm rooting for Nebraska. Why do people keep doing this? Why is the whole bit of the morning show to just attempt to make me mad? It's not fun when I'm mad. I don't like being mad all the time. I've been mad for a vast majority of this morning show over the first 5 weeks, and I don't like it. I don't like this version of myself. I want to be more happy.
I don't think you come off as that mad.
Okay, good. I'm usually a lot more happy.
Now I'm concerned that you're so mad. What's going on that's causing
people trying to make me mad?
Well, I mean,
here's what you think, Happer. That's what they say. They try to tell me what I think.
Is there a chance that you've attempted to make people mad in your time period as a radio host?
No, I've never done that. I always try to make people happy.
Making people happy by making other people mad?
I don't know why I'm the subject of this trolling, but I am. And that's okay. I guess I could take it. But you're just going to have to take me being mad. All right, we'll take a break. Mitch Sherman from The Athletic is our next guest. We'll ask about the basketball tonight. And maybe some Bill Moose things coming up on 1620 The Zone. All right, welcome back. Connor Happer, Mike Schaefer, Joey Colbert producing here on Happer and Schaefer on 1620 The Zone and on 1620thezone.com. And we're joined now on the Prairie Flower Casino Zone hotline by Mitch Sherman from The Athletic. Good morning, Mitch.
Good morning, Connor and Mike. How are you guys?
Good. Are you excited for the basketball game tonight?
I am. I'm glad we started there.
Yes.
That's
We
subject
don't worry.
not
We'll get
tiring
to the Crab Creek Chronicles momentarily. Don't worry.
A new term entered into our lexicon.
Yeah,
We'll
it
never
really
forget.
is.
Crab Creek Chronicles. I'm excited for the basketball game. Yeah. I mean, you don't get a lot of 7 versus 13 games at Pinnacle Bank Arena on anywhere in the month of February or January or December. So this is exciting. And I think Nebraska's probably getting Purdue at if it had its choice of moments to catch Purdue. They're not like at their peak. A week ago might have been a little bit better with the reeling confidence that the Boilermakers might have been a part of after 3 straight losses. They've now won a couple of games, but didn't look dominant in doing that. So this is, make no mistake though, this is a very, very good team. This is a team that started the year with and continues to have national championship aspirations, like where Nebraska is thinking about winning its first tournament game. And my goodness, if you can get to the second weekend, that would be the greatest achievement in the history of the program. Like that would be a huge disappointment for Purdue if the Boilers only went that far in March.
This is sort of an off the wall question, and you may not have a great way of answering it. So I'm happy to just throw it at you here. But should Nebraska fans remotely be worried about the NBA when it relates to Price Sanford? Is that on the table after the kind of the year that he's having, the size that he has? We know the spot up shooting ability, the quick release. He's a better defender than people probably realize. Like, is that something that could potentially be at play? Has that thought entered your mind at all?
Yeah, I mean, a month ago, I would have probably said they should be a little bit worried about Braden Frager. Now, I don't think he's going to, it wouldn't be one and done because he's been here for 2 years, but there were some times in this season and some rather recent where you could project him as an NBA player, and players make decisions like that aren't necessarily in their best interest and jump to the NBA when they're not ready. If
Charles Bediako,
somebody's
perhaps?
willing to write a check, sure. Yeah. And then end up in court fighting for years. I don't know. Sanford seems more realistic at this point just because he's been in college longer, and I think he kind of is what he is. Like, he's a great shooter, has a quick release, and all of the things that you said. And just it comes down to if he loves playing for Fred Hoiberg as much as it seems that he does, and Nebraska's going to back up the talk that Troy Dannon mentioned a week ago, that the investment is going to rise significantly in basketball in the next year, then Sanford and Frager both would be at the top of the list of the players to benefit from that. And Nebraska can make a push to keep them. I mean, once you make that, in normal times you'd say once you make that decision, it's too late. And I think we have to still operate under those circumstances. It's just impossible to say in today's age. Like, is this player going to be back? Is that player going to be back? I'll take the Matt Rule approach to it and say that if he's getting interest, if Sanford's like getting on the radar of NBA scouts, or if Frager is, then that's a good thing for Nebraska because it means they're doing something right in developing those players.
About a month ago, the NBA.com had a pre-draft or had a ranking of just the top 100 prospects, and Sanford was number 63. Now, it doesn't always go in order, and you don't know who's going to declare and all those stuff. I assume he'll be a guy who goes through the process and then has a decision to make afterwards.
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, why wouldn't you? Maybe he goes and lights it up at a combine camp or something, and there's a team that falls in love with him and takes him in the first round. And if that's the case, then it's hard to say no. But again, like you look at, you look at the players that Nebraska has signed for next season out of high school, and then the players that they've been involved with in the last month in recruiting, both on the international and domestic landscape. And there's good things happening around Fred Hoiberg's program. And it would be a good thing. Ultimately, it wouldn't be great for the 2026-27 team, but it would be a good thing for their program moving forward if you step back and look at it big picture. if either one of those players or anybody is in discussions for the NBA draft this spring.
I got one more basketball question for you, Mitch. So, and maybe Schaefer does as well. So now that they've lost a couple times, and obviously nice to course correct and get right with that win on Saturday on the road and doing it convincingly and casually as they've been known to do this year. But like, not saying the fever has died down on Nebraska basketball, but we're maybe able to see it with a little bit more clearer eyes now that they're not literally undefeated. Have your thoughts changed at all on, as you mentioned, second weekend earlier, have your thoughts changed at all over this period of time of how deep they would need to go into the NCAA tournament or like what it would look like if they lose in, round of 32, round of 16, round of 8? Like, are those thoughts any different than they were a couple weeks ago?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think the first chip that has to fall is just win a game. And Nebraska's continuing to put itself in position with its quality of those 2 losses and by getting back on track. And I mean, it could slip once or twice over the next month and still be in very good position to not have to worry a whole lot about that round of 64. Now, Nebraska is going to worry about the round of 64, even if it's a 1 seed. That's just going to happen because of the history of this program. But I think I'm still in the camp of believing that they're going to get it done. They're and I don't think any differently. If anything, I'm more resolved in my belief that they're going to win that game, and that has to be the first thing. And then, yeah, I mean, I think getting to the Sweet 16 would be amazing. Anything beyond that, no matter what Nebraska seeded going in, is gravy. Like, you don't want to get too greedy, and there's something about having success in the tournament, and we see it in other sports where once you've been there and done it, like, your eyes aren't so wide open. And Nebraska's going to have a little bit of that factor going against it when they get to March. But if you can pull off 2 wins on the first weekend, no matter the competition and no matter what happens in the round of 16, like, you are playing with house money, and you have just unequivocally accomplished the greatest thing in the history of the program. So I know it would be disappointing to lose in the round of 16 if you're supposed to win that because you're a 3 seed or something to the 2 seed to that effect. But when it's all over, it would be amazing.
From your vantage point, whether it be press row or watching on the television, what's the biggest concern that you still have about this Nebraska basketball team?
Probably just the margin for error. It's not great. One, because their athleticism isn't through the roof. And, I watched that Kansas-Arizona game last night and thought, how would Nebraska look against these teams? And I didn't come away with a great feeling. So that, they're winning in spite of some things as far as what they bring to the table in terms of overall talent. So that's one concern where you think, all right, when all of these teams start to even out because it's at the end of a long season and players are tired and like the athleticism maybe becomes more of an important factor, then you wonder, like, is Nebraska going to come back to the pack a bit with the way that it competes? And then 2 is probably the depth, because we saw how just 1 or 2 little mix-ups or 1 or 2 little mishaps in a short period of time can cut the legs out from under them. And yeah, they still competed extremely well at Michigan and almost won that game. But I don't know if you played that one 10 times, what happens. Nebraska probably got about its best result in that game a couple of weeks ago with the roster that it had. So yeah, there's not a ton of margin for error, and they still have some depth issues.
Mitch, are you surprised to hear former athletic director Bill Moose describe a situation where he felt his decision-making was being stepped on by others, and there was maybe some dysfunction at the top of the ladder as far as the decision makers were concerned at Nebraska?
No, I'm not surprised that he portrayed the situation like that. I'm not surprised at all that the situation that situation does exist and did exist, continues to exist in some ways at Nebraska. A little surprised, but we've heard about this book for a while. If it had just dropped, unexpectedly, then I think yesterday would have been more of a shock. But we've kind of been prepared. Like, hey, Bill Moose is writing a book. Okay, this is going to be interesting. Like, you don't write a book if there's not going to be material in the book that sells. So expected that he would lay it all out there. And the aspect that we're talking about here that you asked about, Connor, and the dysfunction at Nebraska is very much real. How much of the sordid details and the blow by blow you can just take at face value, I think that's open for judgment and interpretation. This is one person's perspective on this, and I imagine that if you talk to some of the other parties involved, you would get a different story. It's Bill's book. It's his view. He's the only one that's got the floor on this. And but again, like a lot of these issues that he brings up are very real.
So, like you interviewed Bill Moose multiple times. He's had opportunities to talk about these things on the record, not necessarily some of the stuff that he was diving into. Is there anything in there where you were actually caught off guard or surprised by how he characterized it?
Still a little bit surprised that he went as in depth as he did. I mean, it's a money making opportunity for him to sell books. So why? And there were also contractual limitations, I think, and that's all gone. Like, he's gotten his money at this point from Nebraska. There were times when, and it's not like I talk to him on the regular now that he's long gone from Nebraska. When I was talking to him, he had reason not to be completely honest about everything because he, got a nice check on the way out the door, and you don't want to jeopardize that. And that's also, if he had done that, that's also him relying on me or some other member of the media or to portray what he says exactly as he intends it to be portrayed. It's easier for him and better for him if he just does it himself. And this is his way of doing that. So not surprised that like he found a way to have his own forum. Like that's
right.
This is not new. Like, people have done that in the past. A little bit surprised maybe that he went as in depth with his interpretation of some of the details, like the conversation about Dana Altman and with Jim Pillen. And it's I can't say that I saw that coming when I heard that the book was coming out.
All right, Mitch, we will let you go. Always appreciate you dropping by, and enjoy the game tonight. Enjoy the rest of your week.
Okay. Thanks, guys. Take care.
Mitch Sherman from The Athletic. Let's take a break. We will come back. Oh, yeah, we haven't told you yet about the investigation. Ooh. Have you heard about the investigation?
I saw a commentary that made me think that maybe the investigation lacks substance, but I don't know
Interesting.
for myself.
Let's find out next on 1620 The Zone. Headline from Front Office Sports. Nebraska is second known school with athletes investigated over NIL deals. I say death penalty.
Wow.
Just-
It's over.
Uh-oh.
Just based
It's
off of
over.
the headline. You know what? Actually, I think we'll read into it a little bit more. According to Front Office Sports, in January, the College Sports Commission informed Nebraska that it had launched an inquiry into Nebraska athletes, specifically regarding whether they had failed to report NIL deals to the NIL Go system, aka the clearinghouse. Now, Front Office Sports discovered all of this through a records request and saw this in email correspondences with the CSC and Nebraska. Of course, this was the commission that was created to enforce the rules of said house settlement, which said that all NIL deals above $600 will be sent to this NIL Go thing to be put under scrutiny and checked and make sure they're all on the up and up. On January 15th, CSC head of investigators. Oh, and I just lost access to the story. Thanks, Front Office Sports. I saw this whole thing last night. I clicked on it, and now I just lost access to it.
Well, that's not cool.
Great. Now I'll open up on a different browser or something. But
Yeah, let me try.
awesome. Anyway, the point is, this is dumb, and nothing will come of this.
Yeah, I just, like I said, everyone I saw commenting on this, and I had not looked at it, in part because when I tried to read anything,
you didn't care that much.
No, in part when I tried to read anything from Front Office Sports, I haven't been able to get the story to come up. So for similar reasons.
All right. On January 15th, CSC head of investigations, Katie Medeiros, emailed Troy Dana notifying him that the College Sports Commission is investigating whether members of one of your institution's sports teams failed to report one or more third-party name, image, and likeness deals in accordance with the applicable rules. The email then requested that Dana and a member of his compliance team schedule a brief phone call with members of the CSC. 2 weeks later, they had Nebraska's director of compliance wrote to CSC officials that two athletes had submitted additional details to NIL Go, and Nebraska's story was there was confusion by both student athletes about the exact timing of certain deals and or payments received for those deals and whether they triggered post-house settlement disclosure requirements. Nebraska compliance wrote, adding that an unnamed athlete is, quote, working on submitting one more deal as soon as they could track down the contract. So that is Nebraska's side of the story. And I'm pretty sure, like, I don't know. I suppose I believe them in that category. Either way, the CSC has, apparently, the Athletic, I think, reported that the CSC opened a investigation at LSU. The CSC has never punished anyone for anything regarding.
Yeah, it's
these
fact
things.
finding stuff for now.
It's fact finding stuff, and it seems like, it's there. If there is wrongdoing, it's going to continue to happen basically everywhere until someone actually gets punished on this.
Even with the knowledge that this story didn't have a whole lot in it,
You couldn't have thought that it was going to be that bad.
I was shocked by how little was actually there.
Mhm.
So,
Yep.
yeah.
Thanks,
we've-
Front
we've
Office
got
Sports.
that.
Appreciate it.
The
One of the bigger nothing burgers that I've ever seen, to be honest with you. The Nebraska email thread they write, which was obtained through a public records request, sheds light into how the CSC is conducting these investigations, specifically with regards to athletes who have not submitted the deals. In the case of Nebraska athletes, it appears that the CSC resolved issues with the lack of reporting rather than hands down punishments to the players in their school. That was also reportedly the case with LSU. And so basically,
They're just ask for more documentation. That's all it is.
Instead of the CSC being this governmental, punishment agency that has the ability to do that or will do that, they are instead finding areas of seemingly clerical errors and going back to the schools and telling them, hello, would you please resubmit this paperwork, or would you submit it correctly in the first place? We await your response. Thank you. And that's in both cases, big headlines saying these schools are under investigation. That's what it's been. So you tell me who the problem is.
I don't think there's a problem here.
Yeah. Except for the sensationalism of the story.
Yeah, and I mean, nothing about the headline is technically untrue. It just lacks any of the teeth that comes with what you expect when you see the word investigation.
Mm-hmm. J-Man writes in, Happer has been paywalled. Yeah, I got paywalled. But don't worry, I have a second browser. I guess I can't. I always figured if you clicked on a story, and then if you use your free clicks for that same story, you continue to get access to that story. But apparently that is not the case, because I had now clicked on the story twice. Same story twice. Well, I wasted 2 free clicks from Front Office Sports, a publication in which I read all the time.
I don't even know that there's a rhyme or reason for some of it, because we had a Front Office Sports story the other day, and you were able to access it, but I was not.
Yep.
So
maybe it's just random.
There's part to me that thinks that it is.
I was just chosen.
You were chosen.
You cannot read this story anymore. You were chosen.
You're out. You're gone. You're banned.
So there you go. If anybody talks to you today about an investigation that is going on, you could probably just ignore them.
You think people are going to be talking about investigations?
I don't know.
They could be talking about Crab Creek Chronicles?
I don't know. Maybe people will come up to them and they will say, I heard Nebraska was under investigation. What's the deal here? You can just tell them, nah, they're fine. Don't worry about that. But while we're at it, we could give you another story from the Crab Creek Chronicles.
Let's do it.
If you're interested. We have a few minutes left in this segment.
The Zone should do something where they just read excerpts from his Nebraska time, just as like a group, whatever you call it, for like
like a dramatic, like we all gather up and do story time.
It almost seems to me like what Joey is suggesting is that we turn the book into an audio book with various members of the Zone reading it in dramatic ways.
Yeah, but that's kind of what I was.
I don't really care about the other 600 pages of the book.
No, just
a chapter into the audio book.
Yeah, just the Nebraska excerpts.
All right, that's I think we
You're not interested in his time at Washington State, where he will definitely distance himself from financial wrongdoing that they really believe occurred up there.
He was a big idea man.
Like someone could play the role as Bill Moose, someone could play the role as Jim Palan, Scott Frost.
The one. Let me go to a different thing here. The one that was sort of interesting. Well, I mean, there was a few of them that were sort of interesting from yesterday. They got into a little bit of the Oklahoma game, and we knew. I mean, we saw through that one right away. Yeah. We knew that was not Moose. And this is from Nebraska, of course, being told by the Big Ten that it could not play games when the Big Ten canceled their season briefly and momentarily in 2020. And Nebraska said, hey, I don't think I would like to play football games. Here is the excerpt from that. This is courtesy of our dear friend, Matt McMaster. Following their team after it joined the Big Ten meant fans had to travel long distances, which proved to be both time-consuming and costly. This was conveyed to me on several occasions, not just by farmers, ranchers, and small-town merchants, but also by top-notch professionals, affluent business owners, and even a couple of members of the university's Board of Regents. Knowledge of this prompted me to implement my stealth approach to exploring opportunities by secretly testing the waters of what was still known as the Big 12. It still is, even though it consisted of just 10 members. My scheme centered around having my old friend Pat Kilkenny reach out to Bob Bowlesby, the Big 12 commissioner, who I had befriended during our time together in the Pac-12. Pat, who replaced me as Oregon's AD, had also become good friends with Bob, who at the time held the same position at Stanford. Knowing that Pat would do a thorough job of gauging Bob's interest in what I had believed should have been a realistic possibility, most of my energy remained focused on securing a football schedule. In my mind, not only was that important for all the aforementioned reasons, but also for the department's budget. One company, I'm sorry,
one company that sounded intriguing to him was an outfit named
Schaefer.
Legends. One of the principals was Dallas Cowboys owner Jerry Jones.
Jera.
After describing what he felt legends could do for us, I encouraged Garrett to pursue the prospect of contracting with them.
This would be Garrett Classy.
By sitting down with
lieutenant.
their people to have an in-depth discussion. When he did, it triggered the company's top people to inform Jerry of our interests. And as a result, I received a call from him almost immediately. Our visit was, it's doubtful, delightful. Besides complimenting my career, he thanked me for our interest and finished by inviting Kendra and me to be guests at a Cowboys game with Pittsburgh on November the 8th. As it turned out, traveling to Dallas was not only enjoyable, but also valuable. As the morning following the game, I had a wonderful and promising meeting with an old friend. When I learned from Pat Kilkenny that Bob Bowlesby showed an interest in the prospect of Nebraska returning to the Big 12, I seized the opportunity to get together with him. While in Dallas, as his office was just a few miles away in nearby Irving. The two of us met for breakfast at the hotel restaurant, and after reminiscing about our fabulous time together on the Nike trip to Asia and grousing about the current state of college athletics, we got down to business. Bob, who many believe saved the Big 12, was extremely positive about the possibility of Nebraska returning to the conference. He even thought a full television share could be possible upon joining. He said having another school come with us would be ideal. I mentioned that Colorado, which had left for the Pac-12 10 years earlier, might be someone to consider. It'd be like getting the old band back together, I quipped. Bob,
that sounds like Bill Moose.
Yeah.
Now that sounds like Bill Moose.
Bob sounded optimistic about my proposal, as did Ted Carter when I conveyed our conversation to him the following day. Upon Kendra's and my return from Dallas, I sent a text to the president asking for him to give me a call at his convenience, which he did at 7:30 a.m. during my drive to work. Seeing his name on my cell phone, I quickly pulled into the parking lot of a horse racing track that was on my
Classic.
unbelievable.
Classic.
I had separately informed Ted and Ronnie of my intent to conduct an under-the-radar inquiry into possibly returning to the Big 12.
This is the best part.
Ronnie's response was that if it were to occur, he would probably receive a vote of no confidence by the faculty. Ted's reaction, however, was far different. He was intrigued with the idea and told me to continue feeling things out and to keep him informed, which was why I had initiated the call. When I described the conversation I had with Bob Bowlesby, Ted gave me the indication that he was more than interested and, in fact, used the word motivated regarding taking a serious look at it. The conversation ended with him telling me to continue my research, but to keep everything strictly between the two of us, which, of course, I did.
So, long story short here, he schemes together a covert operation to see Nebraska if they could potentially rejoin the Big 12 as they're being shut out by the Big 10 from playing football this year. And he was met with what? Acceptance.
Yeah.
He took it to his bosses. One of them was like, keep looking, keep digging. And the other one was like, well, I'm not saying no, but the faculty would probably murder me if we did this.
I would be fine.
Yeah, I would be fired, but it sounds like a pretty interesting idea. I love it. I love it.
And then he never explains the Hank Bounce call in there at all.
No.
He pulls over at the horse track.
At the horse track, conveniently at the horse
and then
track.
we somehow never learn any more about what the nature of that conversation.
Nope, not at all.
There's some structural issues to the narration.
There might be. We'll take a break. 9 o'clock hours coming up. We at about 9:15, 9:20. We'll talk to Jacob Padilla about the Blue Jays and more. Back after this on 1620 The Zone. All right, welcome back. It is 9:02 Tuesday morning.
Or 202 in Australia.
Why do you always do that, Joey? Why do you always?
Because I'm excited for the Australia NFL game.
Of course you are. Which is in how many months?
That is in about 7 months.
About 7 months.
Yeah, 7 months.
I am not yet excited about the 49ers Rams game in Australia, but I'm glad that you are.
It's tomorrow over there.
Let's take a phone call on the Prairie Flower Casino Zone hotline. Here's Kevin. Hi, Kevin. Good morning.
Hap, Kevin down in Dallas.
What's up, Kevin?
So, love the anecdotes on the Bill Moose book. Does this not feel exactly like Jose Canseco's book, Juiced? Just full of a lot of random anecdotes that you're not totally sure are true.
Correct. And we don't know which direction it's going, and it doesn't. Yeah. It's just a bunch of stuff that's plucked out.
I mean, a lot. Nothing about having a shot with Madonna, but there's definitely some of those takes in there. It sounds like.
Yeah.
And then my second question is, if they make a movie about Bill Moose's book, who's playing Bill Moose?
Great.
My top three: Gary Oldman, Idris Elba.
Who's the third one?
Brendan Fraser.
Nice. Kevin, I love it. This is what we're doing for the next 10 minutes, by
Yeah.
the way. Appreciate the call.
Thank you, Kevin.
So they made Gary Oldman look really, they make him really fat for? The Winston Churchill movie. Wasn't he the guy in that?
Yeah, I don't know. Was he that fat in that?
I mean, he was big and old. Yeah. Oh yeah, he was big.
All right. How do you feel about Chris Cooper? Do you know who that is?
Nope. Let me check. Chris Cooper, actor.
Yeah. We've got the hair. The hair will work.
Oh,
I think the face kind of works.
I can see that.
I think so you kind of need someone who has a little bit of size because Bill Moose is a taller guy. Chris Cooper's only 5'10".
Now, are we going for lookalikes or are we going for like vibe matches? Because I do think you want
Idris Elba is a tough lookalike there.
No, that's not going to work. I don't think it'd be hilarious. It'd be really funny.
I want to throw in Brian Baumgartner in there.
Kevin from The Office.
You need something to do.
So is that a vibe? Is that a vibe match though?
Yeah, that would be like, if you're having a Mr. Magoo style Bill Moose movie.
You could do it that way. I mean, you could do it that way, although nobody knows the backstory of real Bill Moose, so it'd sort of be hard to base a whimsical movie off of it. But like what you're looking for would be a sort of very loud, abrasive, but also felt comfortable in any environment. The rancher who's seen a lot of different things in his life, very, very comfortable, older, rich man who feels like he's just excited to be in whatever room he's in.
So Patrick Warburton.
Oh, okay, that's pretty fun. I don't think he's that aloof. I don't think Bill Moose was that aloof.
When you're discussing someone being like loud,
yeah,
and just sort of excitable, like that's where I went with it.
I think he's probably a little aloof, but or at least that's every character he's ever played.
It seems that way, yeah.
He's just like, yeah.
Who else do we got? Who else can I come up with here?
It's a great idea. I don't know. I'd love to see the Bill Moose movie.
Is Landry from Friday Night Lights, Jesse Plemons, going to play Scott Frost and bring it full circle?
Definitely.
So that one's done.
We would have to
We're
cast
done with
Scott
that.
Frost for sure. Yeah, and that's what Alex said on
We
YouTube.
could turn this to a musical as
Who's
well.
playing Ronnie Green?
Stanley Tucci.
I mean, it's,
A little serious, probably.
yeah. There's got to be someone that
Who
can-
would play
that can pull it
Husker
off.
Jane? Husker Jane's got to be in there. Bill Moose's wife, obviously. Who plays Matt Davison? There's a whole bunch of people involved in that conversation.
Yeah. No, they're definitely.
Schiffer's
is.
really racking his brain on this one.
I'm just trying to come up with more people for the big audition to be Bill Moose.
Got a text that said Rob Riggle. I don't know for what part that's in, but we do need Rob Riggle in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a comedy, we're definitely venturing down that path.
Lance on the Equitable Bank inbox says Nick Nolte or Robert De Niro. If you got De Niro to do Bill Moose, I mean, Bill Moose would be very happy with that.
He's had worse roles.
He's had worse roles than playing Bill Moose.
De Niro's had some really bad ones lately.
Like what's he done? I don't know what Bill Moose or what.
I don't. Yeah, it's
Robert
fair
De Niro's
because
been
where
doing
does the
recently.
Bill Moose role actually rank on these?
It can't be a lot higher than some of the things he's done recently. At the same point, I don't know what he's been doing recently. He's
Bring it
very old now.
He's very old.
He's too old to play Bill Moose at this point.
He is too old to play Bill Moose.
You could have from the 402. You could have Fred Hoiberg as himself. Good one. From the 402, Urban Meyer plays Ronnie Green. Yeah, Urban Meyer needs a job that's not his podcast with Mark Ingram at this point, so we could get him in there.
Can we get Mark Ingram a role just to give him a reason to
You
randomly
could do
just
that.
cut off the monologue as it's happening?
Text from the 402, Hank Hill will play Ronnie Green. You have one animatronic character in the movie.
No, Ronnie Green is played by a Muppet. That was like a big thing a few years ago where you did like replace one character in a movie with a Muppet. You just start with Ronnie Green as the Muppet.
Just have a Muppet and have
He's
Nick,
just trembling
Nick Saban
while he's
voice it.
handing him the letter.
Interesting.
Just have a Muppet and have Nick Saban voice it.
It's interesting. Aaron writes in, we laugh, but a movie about the dysfunction of the athletic department would be more entertaining than the product on the field. That's
16-20 the short.
That's probably true. I was saying to Schaefer during one of those breaks, like, I mean, people would be like, probably appalled at just the stuff that would happen in a movie, and they'd be like, "Wow, did that really happen?" And it'd be like, "Yeah, because that's the type of stuff that happens every day." Phone calls and emails asking random and dumb questions. This is how it works.
There's a lot of minutia that occurs in an athletic department
much
that is
minutia.
not interesting
Way too much
to
minutia.
anybody.
Correct. I mean, actually, the appropriate amount of minutia is just life. Like sometimes we forget that these people are people.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, a lot of this isn't even the athletic director context or the athletic department context. It's just like, what was Bill Moose like when he was out about on town? Like that kind of thing.
When he said, I remember that once, because there was already the rumors about him being interested in alcohol consumption a little bit too much. He at one point said that he loved Dorothy Lynch so much that he was going to steal, as he put it, quote, what he meant was a bottle of it. What he said was a fifth of it. And I said, uh-oh. That is not how you want to refer to a bottle of salad dressing.
Is it possible
if you are trying to be a non-alcoholic?
When he was in Chicago and not drinking, what he actually drank was just a liquor bottle of Dorothy Lynch.
Maybe. The PI would have known.
He was setting a trap on the PI.
Gene!
It's Dorothy Lynch.
What if his PI was Gene Parmesan?
Oh, wow.
Gene!
Yeah, we got to get Henry Winkler's still alive, right? Yeah,
Henry Winkler's fine.
We got to get Henry Winkler involved some way.
He could be
somehow.
Bill Moose.
I would 100% sign up for a Henry Winkler Bill Moose.
Now that would be an
vehicle.
interesting portrayal. I think that would be good. I think that would make a lot of sense.
Like, I think the last I thought about Henry Winkler is that he had this like run of just taking pictures of him catching fish
Yeah.
and just posting them on Twitter.
Was this after Barry?
This is after Barry, yeah. And just being very happy with his life where he's just showing off the fish that he caught.
Incredible.
He's still doing that.
That sounds like what Bill Moose would be doing right now. He probably is doing that, just not on Twitter.
Well, he would be doing that if he wasn't so busy writing books.
Rob says on the text line, Josh Pate as Matt Davison.
I mean, it works.
It's a shot for shot remake. All right, pretty good. Interesting ideas from you all in the Bill Moose movie, which unfortunately has led us to not getting to our super fun NFL topic that I was excited to bounce off of Mike Schaefer today. But we can hold it for
Bring it back tomorrow.
another day.
We're gonna have college basketball rankings with tiers.
Next Tuesday. Well, unless we do it tomorrow and then we begin.
Do
on
it tomorrow,
Tuesday.
but then it's Tuesday with regular.
Okay.
Or do you just want to not do it this week and then we come back on?
Oh, we can do it tomorrow.
Okay. We have to come up with parameters.
We love topics.
Is it the top 25?
Yeah.
Top 20?
At some point, you just say like everyone else,
Okay.
You can make the tier lines wherever you'd like them. Those
Okay.
are our rules. Those
Sounds
are our
good.
rules. We might have some differentiating in some tier lines tonight at Pinnacle Bank Arena with Nebraska and Purdue. Likely unchanged in the tier lines in tomorrow night's game between Creighton and DePaul. But we will talk about the Blue Jays coming up with Jacob Padilla on Happer and Schaefer on 1620 The Zone. All right, let's have a chat with Jacob Padilla from Herd at Sports. Jacob was in the house for another wild one on Saturday. Creighton and Seton Hall. The Jays are back in action tomorrow night against DePaul on the road. Of course, you could hear that on 1620 The Zone and 1019 The Keg. We're joined by Jacob Padilla now on the Prairie Flower Casino Zone hotline. Jacob, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, gentlemen. I'm doing all right.
How would you describe the things that you saw specifically in the last, 90 seconds of Creighton and Seton Hall? I mean, how similar would it be to the other times in which Creighton somehow grabbed victory from the jaws of defeat?
I guess the difference this time is it wasn't Austin Forts who was in street clothes.
Right.
So
yeah, that's another weird part of that game.
Yeah, same thing. New cast, different roles. So it's. I mean, it was pretty cool to see just kind of the emotions afterward, and obviously guys out there celebrating a great play or whatever. But I'm sure there was just a little bit more there in that that huddle there. The guys mobbing Nick Gray's on the court and everything, considering what they've all been through last week. So yeah, it was definitely something they needed, and it was pretty cool to see it play out that way. They, like Max said, everything had to happen perfectly for them to pull that off, and it did, right down to a missed free throw at the end, turnovers, stepping on the baseline on an inbound, and then obviously Fedor hitting the shots that he did. Which turns out, I mean, if they could capture the last 2 minutes of a game, Fedor, and get that the rest of the game, they might be cooking with something here. Because man, what he's done the last two games, when the game is seemingly over, just chucking threes up and finding the bottom of the net. That was that. This time it actually it was important, the ones that he hit versus just making the final margin a little closer. So yeah, just a lot happened there, and they needed every bit of it to pull off a win that the team really needed for multiple reasons.
Jacob, there's still quite a bit of season left. I mean, what's kind of the message from McDermott as you try to get through the back half of this slate? You got some tough road games coming up. You've got tough games just in general coming up, but there's still a lot of opportunity for Creighton here.
Yeah, I think it's just keep fighting and just see what happens. Like, I think that game showed, like, hey, yeah, things have not gone the way they wanted. They're in a tough spot now to accomplish whatever goals they had coming into the season. But like that moment that they had together, that with the crowd at the end of that game and with the fans, and able to pull that off, kind of the celebration, like that's the stuff that you still find for, to have those moments to be there for your teammates. And to see what you can make of this stretch. See if anybody can kind of emerge, make some progress, if they can figure out some things that click a little bit, and just see if they can reach some kind of postseason here and extend this thing a little bit. So obviously, yeah, the NCAA tournament at large bid, and even like you'll keep selling that, hey, we got the Big East tournament at the end of this, and that's always something that every team in every conference, you never quite know. And I think that's what they're going to be fighting for, is just to find the best version of themselves going into the Big East tournament, just to give themselves a chance. And I think that game was an important step forward, just for kind of the proof of concept. Hey, there's still something here, and it may not be going the way that we hoped, and it may not be able to have things kind of flowing pretty easily, but like they're still capable of digging deep and finding something that can work. And I think that's what the rest of the season's going to be about, particularly with Josh Dix and his situation. I think that's the guy that they're going to be rallying around as well the rest of the season.
100%. I was just going to, ask you about that. It's obviously been a very, very difficult week for him, and it's been a difficult last couple months, just being back. But what he was the best player on the floor for the majority of the game, I think, on Saturday against Seton Hall, and you heard the crowd sort of rally around him, and obviously his teammates as well. And thing I'm always amazed about with Josh is he's always pretty stoic, and he doesn't really react one way or the other. So it was great to see him have a nice game on Saturday. Like, can that be a rallying point, I think, for this team down the stretch, at least to sort of keep the thing on the tracks a little bit? Not that they were in giant danger of that happening, but it did feel like it was getting wobbly there, and that win on Saturday, along with rallying around Dix, probably keeps you centered at least a little bit.
Yeah, I think so. And just based on the way that Greg McDermott has talked about this team and how close they are, and about Josh and the way that the teammates have reacted and supported him, that certainly seems like something that's going to be there the rest of the season as he closes out his college career. And the fact that I think he only missed one day. He missed Thursday and was back in practice on Friday with the team to get ready for this game. And I think just the commitment to the team and the program that he's shown, like, if you can't see that and kind of build off that or rally around that, then I don't know what to say. So that, I think that's certainly going to be a big part of the finish to the season, is for those guys just to make this as special for Josh as they possibly can, considering the circumstances and knowing this is the last stretch for him here.
Hey, has this been, how would you, if you could put a label on this season, and we've talked a million times about what's caused it and all that, like, is this the bad luck season? Is this the injury season, too many guys in and out of the lineup at whatever time? Is this just the mismanaged roster in general season? Like, what's the biggest thing for you as you look at it at this point, where you could sort of look back?
Yes, all the above. Ultimately, I think there were definitely some issues with the roster construction, and maybe they didn't get quite what they need in some spots. And I think a lot of the guys they brought in are talented basketball players, but maybe there's just a lot of overlap in their weaknesses, and things haven't progressed the way they had hoped when they were kind of scanning the country and finding guys to target. But I think there's a world in which they could have overcome that at full strength, or at least close to it. And if they're able to kind of put together the team that they envisioned way back last spring. So the fact that the injuries, obviously the Owen Freeman one is the biggest one, but then losing Jackson McAndrew as well. And then you've got the Hudson Greer situation in and out. And so it's just kind of like the team already had a smaller margin for error just based on the kind of roster construction issues. And then any path it had to really clicking was kind of taken away by those injuries. And so the season's basically just been one of trying to find something the entire season. And every time they seemingly have started to find something, or look like, hey, maybe this will work, something's happened, and the lineup's changed, or they've had some things go against them, and they've had to kind of start over. So that's just, I think it's kind of been a culmination of all of that you talked about that leads us to here. But I would probably say the bad luck of the injuries, and I mean even Josh Dix and his jumper, like, you fall into the bad luck category. Is like, he's been a career 42% 3-point shooter, and again, some of it was that he's had a lot of kind of like grenades late in shot clocks, and he's had to create something out of nothing, and he's had more responsibility on him from defensive standpoint and handling the ball and stuff. So maybe that's impacted his legs. But some of these games, it's like the really good looks that he's hit his entire career just have like circled the rim and popped out. And even at the end of that Seton Hall game, like, he's playing really well. Shots are going, he hit 4 threes, and he had 2 of them late that just circled the rim and popped out. Now, fortunately, Creighton rebounded both of those, and they were able to take advantage and score on those possessions either way. But like, those are big moments where got the shot he wanted, and it looked like it was going down, and it just wouldn't do so. And that's kind of happened for a lot of the season. So things like that, on top of the injuries and the kind of the natural overlap and defensive weaknesses and things like that, I think or how we've gotten to this point where they're just a couple games over 500.
Jacob, earlier in the show, we were having a discussion about how many high majors there are for conferences in college
thank you for bringing this
basketball.
up. Yes.
How many would you say? We went through this. We determined where we were at. We want to know what the Jacob.
How many mid majors, right?
Well, I think we determined how many highs, and then from there the mid.
Okay.
That is difficult.
Let's do it this way.
So basically,
I'll throw conferences at you, and you tell me whether they're a high major or a mid major.
Okay.
The AAC.
Are they anymore?
Tough one.
Not anymore. They lost too much.
So they're mid.
They're mid?
They are mid. They are mid, yes.
The A10.
No. So I really think it is, just looking at it, it's probably 5, and that's including the Big East, which is kind of still on the bottom of it.
Yep.
Because the Mountain West is kind of like in flux with the situations going on with them, and like they're the closest right now. I mean, you look at even the KenPom ratings of the conferences. There's a clear 5, and then there's Mountain West kind of all on its own, and then A10 is down at 7th, and there's quite a gap. So that's kind of, I think, where we're at. I don't know how many Mountain West teams are in line to make the tournament, but that's kind of where the breaking point is. I think Mountain West is the biggest discussion, and then everybody else outside that are clearly in the mid to low major.
Right. And so that's the other thing we were talking about. Like, there's only, by our math, and you're looking at I'm looking at the KenPom rankings too. Like, there's only a handful of mid majors before you start getting to the low majors. Yeah. There's a pretty good big gap there between like 10 and 11, and then everybody else is a low major, which would have surprised me if you just said, all right, most of the conferences are low majors. There's a handful of mid and a handful of high.
Jacob, do you have a favorite low major conference?
Oh, good.
Is there a conference tournament where you're keeping an eye out because you kind of want to see who comes out of it?
Favorite, just in terms of connection, it would be Summit League, just because one, Omaha, and two, a lot of Nebraska kids play in that league. So that's the one I pay most attention to outside of Big East, Big Ten, et cetera. Outside of that, honestly, I don't, because most of those teams I don't even remember which conference they're in.
Disappointed. I really wanted him to be like, I'm a big Patriot League guy.
Yeah, you always gotta love that. How about some of the leagues where they have like the super duper buys, where they have like 40.
The West Coast Conference does that.
It's WCC.
Yeah, the Gonzaga bracket. Gonzaga. You can just wait in the championship, and everybody will come up with this.
I don't hate that
way for everybody else to.
It just looks funny.
If there's ever a league that's been acceptable, it's that one.
The MAC should do
this. Why are you favorite? And it's like, actually, okay, yeah, we get it.
Yep. The MAC maybe should do it this year.
I think the MAC should.
Should they change their conference tournaments on the fly if one team is undefeated?
If Miami of Ohio lost the conference championship game and was 33-1, would you leave them out of the tournament?
No. It would be pretty funny.
Jeez. What did the Red Hawks do to you?
Hater of basketball action.
That might be our city of the day.
You would have to. I mean, their schedule is rough.
Really bad. Really bad.
It's really, really bad.
Every time we brought this up, it's like a reminder.
It's a surprise.
Yeah. They played how many fours?
I think they'd certainly have to. I mean, the committee would certainly look at that and consider it. I think just for the novelty of it and the story, put them in. You can't win 33 games in a row. That deserves a reward, no matter who those games are against. So I would put them in, but just looking at the schedule, that might not just don't do it. Miami, just sweep this whole thing.
Yep, that would be a lot more comfortable for everybody. One more before we let you go, Jacob. I'm sure you watched on. Well, maybe you didn't. Maybe you were at a high school game on Friday night. But St. John's and UConn. Pick one. Who's better?
I still probably would say just UConn.
I agree.
Just based on kind of the balance of the roster. But St. John's has certainly found something, and they are on quite a roll right now. It's a far cry from where they were before that Creighton game, where they were kind of like Rick Pitino was kind of hating his team and decrying the lack of a point guard and all that. They still don't really have a point guard, but they've found something that certainly works for them, and they've kind of leaned into the strengths of the roster. And I was at high school and I didn't get to see that, but I was not surprised by that St. John's won, but kind of the margin and that they were able to kind of pull away, because it sounded like it was a pretty good game, and obviously they had that place rocking.
Last 10 minutes, they kind of pulled away.
Yeah. So I did not see that coming. Not shocked by them getting the win at the Garden, but yeah, I think that's honestly probably a good thing for the Big East. Now you've got those two. You really need those two to kind of separate themselves from the ones that basically have no hope at this point. And you don't really want them losing to anybody outside of maybe Villanova could get them, and you'd be fine with that, and that would help the conference. But I don't know anybody else at this point. Like the side that Seton Hall's on, they've kind of played themselves off to the wrong side of the bubble. And obviously we know Creighton's in fourth place in the conference right now, and we've talked quite a bit about where they're at. So
yep.
It's really impressive for St. John's to kind of turn things around. I guess it turns out that Rick Pitino's a pretty good coach after all.
Yeah, interesting. All right, Jacob, we appreciate it as always, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right, sounds good.
Jacob Dill from Herd at Sports. Yeah, I think he's right. Rick Pitino, he's okay. Although he almost lost to his son last night. Imagine that.
Jeez.
Pretty close. Home loss to Xavier would not be pretty on the old resume at this point, especially for that type of team. Let's take a break. We'll come back around at the show when we return on 1620 The Zone. But first, speaking of basketball, fast breaks, buzzer beaters, block parties, they're back. Underdog is the best place to get in on the action. You can make picks and win money right now in Nebraska. It's very easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like points, rebounds, steals, and more. Get those picks right. You could win up to 5,000 times your cash. Maybe I will highlight yet another game today that has a brawl in it tonight, as we talked about yesterday with the Hornets game. Or maybe I'll just refrain from doing it at all. Across the board, it's due to be a great night in basketball, so check it out and take your higher or lower. That is easy. Download the app today. Use promo code HAPPER1620 to score $75 in bonus entries when you play your first $5. Promo code HAPPER1620. Underdog, make picks, win money. Must be 19 plus and present in Nebraska. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/playing terms _DFS_.html for details. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. Well, we got a couple more minutes, so we might as well get you one more Crab Creek Chronicle. How's that sound?
Creak it up.
All right, we're going to creak it up. Here we go. This is regarding the 2020 season in Big Ten Champions Weekend, which everyone was assigned a school from the other side that they would play on this weekend. Of course, Nebraska was assigned Rutgers. Here is the excerpt from the Bill Moose book. Per the agreed upon plan for that season, each team was to play 8 scheduled games, followed by a to-be-determined 9th game from the opposite division based on their records. As it turned out, we were assigned to play Rutgers. Less than an hour after that was announced, Garrett, classy, was in my office. Scott doesn't want to play the Rutgers game. Says his guys are tired and they're ready for the season to be over. Quote, "Yeah, BS," I screamed. "It isn't over. I busted my ass to get them a bleeping football schedule, and they're going to finish. By God, finish it. Get him up here."
Incredible.
That one I buy.
Yeah, no, I believe it.
That one I buy.
I completely believe it. I mean, he didn't want to play a bowl game with the opportunity to do that afterwards.
He didn't want to play the Oklahoma game because he's scared. You know.
No, I completely. I don't know about the quote or what he screamed, but
yeah,
the rest of it,
I'm sure he definitely screamed something.
Yeah, the rest of it, I can fully accept and appreciate. I kind of want that to come back. I enjoyed the randomness of.
Well, you like Champions Weekend?
Yeah, I liked it. I was a fan.
Now, was that the year they declined to play a bowl game?
Yeah.
So he got his way in the long run. Frost did.
Yeah.
Because they had they had the thing where everybody came together and they voted on whether they would play a bowl. I don't know the official results of that vote, but they did not end up playing a bowl game that year, even though they could have been selected to.
I'm not entirely convinced a vote was ever held.
Interesting.
I think they would have been.
Was there a straw poll of some sort? There was like a.
I think multiple players of note were like, "Yeah, I'm not going to play."
I remember that
another game.
Yes.
If you want to, great.
Mm-hmm.
I will not be doing so.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that was kind of the part of it where Nebraska decided to turn down the opportunity to do so.
According to Moose, and once again, this is one we could all see through in the very beginning. He writes, "I had provided my 4th-year coach with absolutely everything I could, including generous salaries for him and his coaches, a budget among the highest in the Big Ten, incredible facilities, including an under-construction football complex, the likes of none other in the country, to name a few. But the one thing I couldn't give him was wins. To say Scott was nervous about the upcoming season would be an understatement. This is going into 2021. Yet to have a winning season, he felt pressure that if he didn't produce, he would get fired. Time and time again, I pointed out to him that I was the one who would determine if he would be fired, and I had already gone on record that that wasn't going to happen on my watch, which is hilarious because he actually wasn't the one who determined whether he was going to get fired or not, because he got fired before he got the opportunity to make that decision, which is possibly the most hilarious part out of all of this. But trying to reason with him, Moose writes, was pointless. Scott, I preached, you'd be far better off in the fans' eyes if you went 3-9 than if you ducked out of the Oklahoma game. According to Moose, he got no reaction. Nada. Nothing. Zilch, which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's
and by the way, what ended up happening was really good for them. They only lost by a touchdown. They were in the game competitively most of the way. Expectations had gone so low at that point. They had the Illinois debacle already to start the season. Everyone thought Nebraska was going to get killed in the game. They play well. They're in it late. And I think at that point in that season, 2021, we're talking about, it was sort of like this. It was almost like a reset of like, oh, well, now we'll see what happens. And then, of course, very shortly after, they went on the road to Michigan State. Yeah, and that
was a week after
that debacle happened.
Yep.
And then they beat the living hell out of Northwestern.
Yep. They're 3-3.
And
Michigan
the Michigan game was after that.
and they have that game. They could not finish it on the field, so then they're 3-4.
Yep.
Then they go to Minnesota, and Jock Yant trips on 4th and 1.
I was at that game.
So then they're 3-5.
That was fun.
Then they're home against Purdue, and Samari Toure and Adrian Martinez can't hook up on a wide open deep ball that either was lost in the sun or overthrown, was the great debate from that game.
Who knows?
They also were like a 7-point favorite and lost by 7 points to
Dope.
Purdue in that one.
Then it was Ohio State?
Uh,
Because everybody was starting to get fired by this point,
yeah,
right?
I'm trying to think.
Let me
if
pull-
Ohio
I'll pull
State
it.
was next year. That does sound right. They hit their bye week right around this time, and that's when
Everybody started getting fired.
That's when Verduzco held Greg Austin. We're all out.
All right, so you got it. Oklahoma, Michigan State, Northwestern, Michigan, Minnesota, Purdue, bye week, Ohio. No, there was no bye week before Ohio State. But Ohio State, I remember the Ohio State week was the week everybody got fired.
Yeah.
And
So then that game happened.
and then they were in it. Like they were
Yeah.
kind of in it.
Well, you remember who had a monster game that
Jackson Smith and Jigba.
day. Really, really good.
Turns out that guy was okay.
And Nebraska had some really questionable coaching decisions in there. They like kicked a field goal from the 6-yard line when it wasn't going to really help them from doing,
Dope.
they needed a touchdown there.
Hell yeah.
They missed field goals that were close. Anyways, they lose to Ohio State. Then
Lose Wisconsin by
then it's
touchdown.
Wisconsin, yeah. And they hung around in that game and lost to Braylon Allen. Had a big day, I believe.
That makes sense.
Ran for a bunch of yards. And then they played Iowa, had that game basically won, and then had their field goal or their punt blocked, and it flipped everything around, and Logan Smothers lost his only start in the league.
That is the 2021 season.
Yeah. And Scott Frost came back.
And just think about how much different it would have been if they wouldn't have played Oklahoma.
Yeah. They would have been 4-8.
They may have had one more win.
Maybe they don't punt the wrong direction. Maybe the officials blow the whistle before Adrian can fumble against Michigan. Maybe Jock Yant keeps his feet and plunges into the end zone.
Maybe the sun isn't out for the Purdue game.
And maybe Scott Frost is still here today.
I could be. You just really never know.
No, none of these things could have happened.
All right, that will do it for us today. We appreciate you guys listening and being with us. Where is the? Oh, there it goes. Oh, it's 30 seconds now. Where'd the 15 one go?
I'll get it back in there.
Either way, that'll do it for us today. Appreciate you guys joining us. If you missed anything, 1620thezone.com is where you can find it. Schaefer's out for the crossover. There will still be a crossover, and it's coming up next.
It's happening.